to getting you the medications you need without the runaround. When everyone around you is sick and you know you have to be prepared, or when you don't want to wait in line for maintenance meds, you absolutely need All Family Pharmacy. They've got antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin. Order online at allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. On this Tuesday, over the weekend, Saturday Night Live delivered a skit mocking the ICE Minnesota situation. It bombed, despite Pete Davidson playing Tom Homan. Mr. Davidson can be keenly amusing. He wasn't here. That's because some things are not funny, like 2 dead protesters, an insurrection against the United States of America, sanctuary protections for brutal foreign criminals. Let me repeat, those things have no amusement potential. Neither does the dangerous open border policy imposed by President Biden, or Trump officials not accurately describing violent confrontations, or dishonest media people using death to advance transparent ideological beliefs. Not funny. Sharp satire is badly needed in the USA. It can bring relief and clarity. But real-time joke-making about dangerous situations is a fool's errand, as the old saying goes. Sadly, today, there are plenty of fools around to do it. I'm big on humor, but let's not get out of control, okay? Back after this. Trapped in a timeshare, fees rising every year while availability shrinks, resorts making exiting nearly impossible. That's why I partner only with Lone Star Transfer. They have helped more than 40,000 owners exit legally and ethically through a simple guaranteed process. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress. Please visit LoneStarTransfer.com, or you can call 855-551-7066. Tell them Bill sent you today. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, so even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon, then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Koch.
You've heard that phrase before, right? When somebody tells you and shows you who and what they are, believe them. Well, we're seeing that evidence all over the place in the country, especially among the violent fringe left and their supporters on the far left as well. On Wednesday's program, when I was still here in the cold tundra with you all in St. Louis before I went down to Puerto Rico, Stacey Matthews, otherwise known as Sister Told Ya on Red State, had some updates for us. And we're going to start in the Chicago area, where a teacher is potentially facing the loss of his career because he typed 2 things that supported federal law enforcement. And that's just the beginning. Here's what Stacey had to say with her update.
Type 2 words in support of federal law enforcement?
How dare you?
Ooh, you're on your own, and get ready to reap the woke whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's encapsulated in one of the articles on on Red State, rather, as well. Got Susie here, got Jerome here. I'm Mike, now joined by Stacey Matthews. You may know her better as Sister Told Ya on Red State. And let me start there. The article, which, kind of, I would say had my jaw dropping, Stacey, but good God, we're just kind of used to this nonsense from the extremists and the teachers unions. The article is Chicago teacher faces woke backlash, disciplinary action over 2-word social media remark about ICE. She literally typed 2 words. What kind of disciplinary action is she facing? I mean, this is just insane.
Yes, Mike. Well, first of all, good morning. And I do want to say really quickly, I caught the tail end of your last segment where you were talking about somebody named Moore stabbing people. I didn't catch the first name.
It
But
was not Susie.
if it's Susie, I want to apologize for that typo in my last.
You're safe, Stacy. It was not me.
But about the Chicago teacher, I believe it's actually a male, not a female. And the person, it was just 2 words. And it was apparently in response to some type of article about ICE activity in Chicago, which, they've seen a lot of over the last few months as part of Trump's immigration enforcement crackdown. And all the teacher wrote was "Go ICE," and it created a backlash in the West Chicago school district. And the disciplinary action that the teacher could face is termination.
It's just
termination.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this what
there's a petition circulating to have him fired. The woke mob wants to appear at the next school board meeting. All over these 2 words. Now, you contrast this, Mike and Susie and Jerome, with the other teacher in Chicago who is still working, teaching, and being shielded from scrutiny. This is the same teacher, the teacher who made a mockery of Charlie Kirk's death during one of the No Kings protests. That teacher is being shielded, but this one is facing termination for supporting law enforcement.
Yeah, because that's the one who did the whole finger gun to the neck and yelled bang and did that. Yeah, and but in this case, the point that you're making there, which is where I wanted to jump in, is the whole point of the teachers' unions in a lot of ways is to protect their teachers from external stuff like this. So they're picking and choosing, it seems, who they get to represent based on the ideology, which tells me that it just confirms more that these are political activist organizations more than they are employee protection organizations.
Right. There was a state senator. I don't know what the unions have said about this, Mike, but there was a Democrat state senator. Apparently, she represents that particular part of Chicago. And she said she was standing in solidarity with the woke mob because the 2 words that the teacher typed, "Go ICE," stoked fear in the community and made people feel unsafe. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, they don't support the police there when the police are trying to do their job, and they don't support ICE when they're trying to do their job. So what's wrong with this picture?
Stacey, I just want to clarify, too. This was a comment that this teacher made on social media. It wasn't like a banner in their classroom or anything directed at students, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was on their personal social media. It was not done during work hours or anything like that.
Because, I could almost see an argument if it was somehow in the classroom or whatever. And the student, this is an elementary teacher, maybe I could understand you don't want to send that message to students and stoke fear. Okay, I'm going to go with that. But if the teacher had said abolish ICE or defund the police or anything like that, I mean, don't they have students whose parents work for ICE or the police too? Why would that not be the same thing?
Apparently, this particular district has a high percentage of Hispanic people living there, and it sounds to me, honestly, the way that the reaction has been to this, it sounds like to me there might be quite a few illegals, and ICE might be paying a visit to West Chicago a little bit more, after this story, because there's been so much dust kicked up over this issue.
Wow, we're visiting with Stacey Matthews, a.k.a. Sister Told Ya, from redstate.com. Okay, so let's talk about the illegal. Let me pivot to another one of your articles that kind of jumped out at me. And this one is in Virginia. There's actually a proposal, and you wrote about this and linked to it and everything, to, of course, restrict ICE and Homeland Security when it comes to immigration enforcement. But specifically, they're saying you can't come within a certain number of feet of a one particular thing. And that's got people raising eyebrows going, wait a minute, we didn't think that polling places mattered in all this. So what is it that's proposed? And then the obvious questions that brings up.
Well, Mike, we've had several instances over the last year alone of Democrats saying the quiet part out loud about illegals voting in elections. We've seen it with Gavin Newsom in California. That's a more glaring example. But in Virginia, there's a Democrat delegate named Alfonso Lopez, and he introduced a bill, HB 1442, that seeks to prohibit federal immigration enforcement activity within 40 feet of polling places. And the thing about it is that if illegal immigrants are not supposed to be able to vote, which Democrats keep telling us is the case, and it actually is the case, then why do they have to have this legislation? Where's the supposed need for this legislation?
Stacey, did he have any explanation that offered for that? Do we have any sense of what was motivating this?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I've checked for a statement from him, and I haven't found anything. But let me just read what the summary of it is. It says elections, polling places, prohibited activities, acts in furtherance of immigration laws, prohibits any person from performing any act for the purpose in furtherance of immigration enforcement within 40 feet of any building, a polling place, a meeting place for the local electoral board, or the place where the recounts are held. So I think it's pretty obvious here, what's going on. But again, no one seems to want to answer the question. If illegals can't vote, then why is this legislation needed? And a Republican delegate, Ann Farrell, she said that they were shocked at the brazenness of the bill. And she said, first, states can't restrict the actions of the federal government. But more importantly, what's the purpose behind this bill? Democrats tell us illegal aliens aren't voting. It's quite a coincidence.
Right. I mean, this is to say it's an unforced error would be an understatement, Stacey, but it's almost like a circus level unforced error. I mean, this is clown show stuff. Did nobody in the Democratic caucus go, hey, we may be opening ourselves up for something here?
Well, the thing is, too, Mike, and you have to remember Abigail Spanberger's actions the very first day she was in office, one of her very first actions was to end cooperation between Virginia and ICE. So this builds on that premise. That ICE is not to be trusted, that we are going to side with illegal immigrants in our community over American citizens. And I think that's the message that Republicans need to be better at getting out there. You see different, opinions about deportations and some of the other ICE activities, but we have to remember that the reason that all of this is going on is because Democrats have chosen in certain parts of the country, blue states in particular, to not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement on detainers for criminal illegal immigrants. They are protecting criminal illegal immigrants over their own citizens, and that needs to be amplified from Republicans from here until Election Day, because we need to take back control of the narrative about this.
Stacey, with Spanberger in charge and the supermajority that the Democrats have in the Virginia legislature now, I think we're going to see lots more craziness coming out of Virginia. But you also had an article up yesterday with some good news that they may not get their way on something that's really critical to the upcoming midterms.
Yes, and this is kind of fascinating, Susie. And I'm not a legal expert. You are, but this one, we had some people in the comments talk about it. It was the case regarding the redistricting effort that Virginia Democrats have undertaken in response to some of the other redistricting that we've seen go on across the country, mid-century or mid-decade redistricting. And basically, the Democrats in the House of Delegates in the Senate late last year, went forward with a plan to put a constitutional amendment on a ballot, which they were going to do. It was originally set for April of this year, for citizens to vote on whether or not they would allow the House of Delegates and the Senate to redraw the maps to give Democrats a big advantage in the 2026 midterms in Virginia. Well, a circuit court judge yesterday ruled that Virginia Democrats violated their own constitution and procedurally in the way that they went about this. And it was interesting. There were some commenters at redstate.com who are familiar with the Virginia Constitution, and they said that this ruling to them was a no-brainer and that they would not be surprised if the Virginia Supreme Court upheld the ruling.
And so, Stacey, from there, obviously, with the appeals process, does that mean that they do not have time to do that gerrymandering before the next midterm, or is there still a chance they can try it again and get it done in time?
If these rulings are upheld, then they will not be able to do this before the midterms. In fact, they would not be able to do it again until 2027, which is their next off-year election.
And how
So this
many?
would-
How much of a swing in congressional seats, for instance, would that have accounted for?
It would be, if I remember correctly, Mike, it would be 4.
That's more than the margin right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
right,
important.
right. I think it would basically give Virginia one Republican Congress member, and the rest would be. I think it's 9-1 or 10-1. I can't remember the amount of districts they have there, but I believe it was either 9. It would give Virginia Democrats either 9-1 or 10-1 advantage.
All right, and of course, what's in the cooker for today as well?
What's in the cooker? Oh, goodness, there's going to be more on Minnesota. We're still hearing about that and learning about what has happened between Tom Homan and Mayor Fry and Tim Walz, and that's obviously going to be the big story today.
And redstate.com. We'll talk to you again soon. Stacey, thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Stacey.
And as always, just make sure you're checking out redstate.com there. All right, Susie's going to be in at 6 o'clock. I've got an update for you here in just a couple of minutes with Jerome right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
He should pick up the phone, and he should say that he will cooperate with this president, making Minnesota safer.
We know there's organized groups. We know there's funding. Who's inciting the violence?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
The world's best athletes, the biggest stage, the thrill of competition. News Talk STL brings you winter game updates 4 times every weekday, starting February 9th. Get the latest results, medal counts, and top stories from the games. Stay connected to all the action as our athletes go for the gold. Brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring. Details at NewsTalkSTL.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851. Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At U.S. Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With U.S. Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
U.S. Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With U.S. Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose U.S. Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. U.S. Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, a former high school coach now in jail.
What?
Yeah, it's not good.
Wow.
Also, big talk again from the Trump administration over the Epstein case, but at the same time, also kind of dismissive talk over the Epstein case.
Very much so.
I got a little bit of that in the news dump here in just a little bit. That's coming up here at top of the hour here. So, all right, a lot of been an eventful few days, obviously for me. Let me grab my.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's actually really weird having you back on your own show now.
Right. Exactly. So I leave for a few days, and the government partially shuts down again.
Yep.
I mean, I just can't leave things in place, and then I go, and then look what happens.
Maybe they shut down the government so they could all watch you play baseball.
That's right. Yes. And it's cold here still.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I was gone for like 5 days. That was plenty of time, St. Louis, to get rid of this cold weather.
You're going to go from sunburn to frostbite in 3 days.
Well, it was funny because my teammates, basically what a lot of us did is we just got Airbnbs, and we all, like 4 of my teammates and I, split an Airbnb in a town called Carolina, which I had mispronounced Carolina for a couple days until somebody finally said, no, it's actually Carolina. And, we had this Airbnb, and we all were on the same flight back yesterday from Puerto Rico. And so we leave at like 5:30 in the morning local time, Atlantic time out there. And, it's 78 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
We land here and it's 29, which is, obviously better than it was when we left, when it was, negative stupid below zero. And we're walking off the plane and we're looking at each other going, I'm not sure about this life choice. We were literally just in a tropical climate hours ago, and here we are.
Did you have a moment where you're like, what are the people that are stranded on desert islands complaining about? That was amazing.
Yeah, they get a good tan, and oh my goodness. It was a great trip. And I will say that I'm going to just admit to everybody right now, I am behind on the news. Because all of us, and we had this really kind of wide variety of just in the house that we were in. There's me, there's another guy who's a financial planner. There's another guy who is a teachers union representative in Illinois, so he's far left, but one of my best friends on the team. We've also got, a guy who works at his church, and then a principal, one of the area middle schools. Here on the Missouri side, principal of one of the middle schools. So we had this like wide variety, and I'm just really glad that nobody was rolling our camera phones, because we'd all be in trouble. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I'll kind of touch on a few of the things because I'd never been to Puerto Rico before. Unfortunately, we had some rain move through at the end of the week. So the last part of the tournament got canceled because I guess the rains overnight just soaked everything, and the fields couldn't get, or that's what they said. We're not really sure exactly why they were canceled, but there was a lot of rain, and so bottom line is our goal was to make the playoffs. Well, had the playoffs been played, Team Missouri would have made the playoffs. We probably would have been the 3rd seed of the 4 teams. But we would have made the playoffs, but we just didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs.
And you're not just saying that as an excuse because you got swept so badly. That it's more beneficial to say, oh, we got rained out, than to actually talk about the score that you lost by. No?
Well, I mean, okay, so we won 2 games, the first 2 games, and the second game we cleaned Philadelphia's clock. I mean, we just thumped them, and then we lost to Puerto Rico. And I mean,
well, that's expected.
Oh my gosh, those guys were amazing.
Yeah.
And then we just fell apart playing Chicago. I mean, we just did not, we just didn't play well. And so we ended up losing that game. So that was 2-2. We did not get a chance to play Colorado because that was one of the games right out. But then they just said, okay, everybody got 4 of the 5 games in, so we're just going to base it on those standings, and then when the runs scored and allowed and all that kind of stuff. And so they had set the playoffs for Sunday, and we had qualified for the playoffs. And so we would have at least been able to compete for the playoffs to see, where we would have gone. My guess is that I think we could have won our first round game, and we probably would have met Puerto Rico in the championship. Which I don't know about our chances in that one, but it was a lot of fun, and we'll kind of touch on a lot of interesting experiences, not just baseball. So a lot of interesting stuff. So we could touch on some of that. Anybody's got any questions? Shoot them my way here. Okay, last minute or so we've got here. Another Epstein file dump on Friday. I guess it was. I had already, like I said, I was already playing baseball. I was unplugged. We were out, having food and drinks and all that kind of stuff. So like 1 million documents or something like that.
3 million.
3 million on a Friday, which is when you dump it, en masse. Which these, by the way, were supposed to have been released a month or two ago by law.
Yeah.
So I have not read up on those. I know you've caught up on that a lot more than I have. What do we know and what do we still not know? I mean, 3 million pages, there's no way anybody's been able to go through those.
So there were instances of tip reports which have not been validated or not confirmed or denied,
Right.
but just somebody leaving a tip or making a complaint or something
Which
that are included.
you cannot assume that means guilt.
But there are a lot of emails. You can go to justice.gov/Epstein. It's going to ask you if you're a robot. It's going to ask you if you're 18, so you can view the stuff, and you can actually keyword to type in certain things. There's a lot of really dark things in there. It's I was expecting it to be bad. I was not quite expecting it to be this bad, and it. Quite frankly, President Trump's response to it has even gotten me even more upset about that.
Yeah, so you've got part of that because I haven't heard this clip yet. What was it that, because he was asked about it, what did he say?
Essentially, he said that the DOJ's got better things to do than worry about this. And so given the fact that we still don't have all the verification and validation for what's real and what's not, you would think that when torture and murder are being listed as in these files, that maybe they'd want to take a deeper look into that and hold people accountable.
Yeah, I want to. Pull up that clip and have it ready for the news dump. We'll go to that here in a couple minutes.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
It is an honor and a privilege to have U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt.
Hey, I have to tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you this. In the 90s, what would this have been? Mid-90s. Yeah. And I was I worked at Grant's Farm and I had a couple other jobs. In the afternoon, I would often hear and listen to Porcelli's Deli on the radio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making me feel older than I already feel. That's just great.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work. Real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hall, I'm Rich Thomason. Once again, a judge is blocking an action by the Trump administration. This time has to do with hundreds of thousands of Haitians facing deportation to their homeland.
Temporary protected status has allowed roughly 350,000 Haitians to live and work in the U.S. It's a designation that can be granted by the Secretary of Homeland Security if conditions in a country are deemed unsafe for return due to natural disaster, political instability, or other dangers. Homeland Security says Haiti's TPS was granted following an earthquake that took place over 15 years ago. It was set to end Tuesday after Secretary Christine Nome determined conditions had improved and Haiti was now safe.
Correspondent Ben Thomas says a judge is ordering the protected status to remain in place. Apparently, the Clintons have had a change of heart. Bill and Hillary Clinton now say they will testify in a House investigation focusing on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Iranian president directing the country's foreign minister to seek talks with the U.S.
This move by Masoud Pezeshkian comes as tensions are very high between Washington and Tehran. That's because of Iran's bloody crackdown on nationwide protests last month that are believed to have killed thousands of people. Now, Pezeshkian said he had ordered Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi to have these talks. He said that they would be conducted if they could be in a fair manner and in a site that would be also fair to the Iranians.
Correspondent John Gambrell. President Trump has announced a big new trade and tariffs deal with India. As part of that deal, Mr. Trump says that India has agreed to stop buying oil from Russia. Watching Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are down 58 points, while the NASDAQ futures 95 points higher. S&P futures better by 6 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Attention investors, this affects you. Silver prices are exploding, with silver exceeding $100 a troy ounce for the first time. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem, when you call now. Here's why it matters. Silver is a high liquidity, tangible, and affordable precious metal investment that serves as an industrial commodity and a store of value. It often outperforms gold during economic upturns. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can act now. Roll over a portion into a tax-advantaged gold and silver IRA backed by physical metals you actually own. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, so even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon, then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Couch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at SerenityLTC.com.
If you're worried about losing your health insurance through Medicaid, we have great news for you. New government regulations have expanded the Affordable Care Act. And now, you may qualify to get health insurance for you and your family through the Affordable Care Act. Call now to learn if you qualify. We know the healthcare regulations regarding Medicaid, and we've helped thousands of people find quality, affordable health insurance. Plus, all our research is free to you. So call us. With just one call, we'll shop from hundreds of different insurance companies to find you the right affordable health insurance plan. So if you're worried about losing your Medicaid insurance, call right now. Speak with a licensed agent and find how you may qualify for a new health insurance plan.
800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. That's 800-479-0931. Paid for by the Health Insurance Hotline.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are. And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Is there anything in your life that is not Trauma Olympics?
Susie Moore.
Get out of here and stop playing victim.
Get up, St. Louis.
There's no crying in baseball.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, a former high school coach here in the area is now in jail.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is pretty ugly. Also, a lot of big talk again from the Trump administration over the Epstein case, but then also some dismissive talk over it as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Cardinals trade away one of their starters. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, it is 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and get started with News Dump.
Wake up, America. It all worked out. They get all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, a former MICDS high school basketball coach admits to sending explicit photos of himself to some students.
Ew.
Yeah. And this started in 2024. Prosecutors also say 29-year-old Lee Bogan used social media to start sexual conversations with at least two girls trying to gauge their interest. The girls, though, screenshotted what he sent, reported him immediately, leading to the arrest. On Monday, he pled guilty to one count of attempting to receive child pornography. He'll be sentenced in May. He faces up to 20 years in prison.
Well, way to go, dummy. You had a plum job.
Yep.
And, bleh.
Yeah.
And I wanted to congratulate those girls because that's not an easy thing to do in that situation. So
The-
good on them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the news articles and the release and everything that I was reading to write that, it didn't say which social media app, but they say that he thought it was going to be deleted.
Snapchat.
Okay, so
That
it must
would
have been
be what-
Snapchat. And
as
but
soon as you said they screenshotted
they
him, like it was
screenshotted it.
Snapchat.
Yep, and so they saved it like this ain't right, and so now he could. Now, it looks like there's a plea deal as far as the sentencing, but the judge obviously isn't required to go with that. He could face up to 20 years. The plea agreement is for 90 months is what they are proposing to the judge.
So what, that's 7.5 years?
7.5 years, yeah. So that's what he's looking at.
I'm not ready for math.
No, it's a little early. It's 6:07 right now.
It is.
All right. Department of Justice, as you know, released more of the Epstein documents and files on Friday, millions of pages. Former President Bill Clinton, former First Lady, and Senator and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton as well have agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee about their connections to the convicted sex offender. Basically, I'm getting caught up on all of this stuff. Because I am telling you, I did not spend my time in Puerto Rico following the news and the Epstein case.
No, why would you? That's, yeah.
No. All right, so Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche was on the Ingram Angle on Fox. He says just because a name appears in the documents, that does not necessarily mean that they are criminals.
Not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will.
Okay, I'm not sure they will, but what he said is true.
Correct.
Right there.
Yeah, and that was some of the early talk about the danger in releasing all of this is that it was going to sweep into it a bunch of people who didn't do anything wrong, but by association, guilt by association was going to get to them.
Yeah. All right. And then President Trump was asked about this, right? Okay. So what's the context of the clip that you've got? Because I actually haven't heard this one yet.
I haven't either.
So it appears that he's in the White House. He's holding a press conference with some of his cabinet members, and he gets asked specifically about. Then there's also a Truth Social post to go along with this to try to clear his name because people are asking why do you appear so many times, and we know, of course, not everything in the files is to be taken with 100% legitimacy, but this is what he was saying in response to the question that was asked to him.
And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do because that whole thing has turned out. I mean, other than Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and lots of people that there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me.
They have other things, better things to do. Things to do.
And in the Truth Social post, it goes on to basically say the same thing. The DOJ just needs to move on already. That there's nothing regarding him. That's a Democrat hoax. All that kind of stuff.
Well, if there's nothing that implicates President Trump, great, that's fine. But this isn't about President Trump. I mean, that's the thing is to say, this is I don't like they should just move on thing. They didn't get me, so they should just move on. I don't like that.
And then AG Todd saying, well, if we had evidence, we'd do something. What are these files then? Are you just releasing a bunch of nonsense? I mean, if this is what you guys have, why aren't you going through that, figuring out what's valid, what's not valid, what you need to act on? There are some really sick, disgusting things that are now being circulated as legitimate because we have nothing else to go on. And isn't it the job of the DOJ and the FBI to look at this stuff and say, here's what we can prove, and let's get the people that are doing this?
Why are you assuming they haven't already done that? They've had the material for years. This is stuff that's been in their possession. They've been forced to release it now.
Who's been arrested in relation to this? Because the DOJ memo that we have right here is saying that there are no co-conspirators. Nobody else was involved. It was just Ghislaine. It was just Epstein. And they messed up really big on a couple of these redactions, so we have actual names and emails now. Nobody else has been arrested.
No, and I think it's fair to question whether there's additional criminal proceedings that can be pursued. I absolutely say that. But it's not like they just got this stuff and haven't ever looked at it. Now, some of the issues maybe they looked at it and said, we don't have enough here to go on to actually make prosecution, or we're past the statute of limitations on this specific one. Some of it, I'm not saying none of it is worth pursuing. But what I'm saying is just because we're now all seeing it for the first time doesn't mean that they've never looked at it.
No, I agree. And I know that there were certain special deals that were given in some of the trials for both Epstein and for Ghislaine. So there are probably people that are going to be off limits to touch even though they did something wrong.
No.
Jeffrey
Epstein wouldn't get to negotiate for somebody else being off limits.
So
he cut deals for himself way back in the day, back in Florida. But no, I mean his or her criminal prosecution wouldn't be okay. I'm going to get a lesser sentence if you agree not to prosecute somebody.
So to my understanding, it was more of the lines of, hey, can you confirm Jeffrey or Ghislaine did this? And in exchange, we will just seal, we'll keep you unidentified.
That could be.
We won't press charges against you.
Yeah, the deals could have been cut with them. Okay.
So that's sort of what the
go
my
after
logic
the
is.
bigger fish kind of
thing.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. But when it's talking about murder and torture of minors, I think that is something where you need to be able to say.
Okay, so what is talking about that? What's
in emails, and specifically, you can go on justice.gov/Epstein.
Yeah, I know. I know. But what I'm saying is, we need more context about, I could write you an email right now that talks about murder and torture. That doesn't.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is then why are the people that have had these files not clarifying, look, we've been through this and we're releasing this because it's part of this, but we've already invested. Why are they allowing so much speculation to go on and not just saying, look, here's what we've done, here's what we didn't do, because the only thing we've gotten before this was a DOJ memo saying there was nobody else involved, no co-conspirators, nothing else to look at here. We're not even going to pursue charges against anybody else. That's sitting, I have it highlighted right here because of that.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I'm legitimately asking. I'm just a little worked up. I apologize.
I'm
legitimately asking.
And I haven't had a chance to really look at this all, in any meaningful way. I completely understand the questions. I think my take on it is, you've got a humongous volume of information. Much of which has been in one way or another in the hands of federal law enforcement for a long time. My assumption, and maybe it's wrong, is that most of it has been looked at, and if there was something to go on, was, addressed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a narrative as well saying there's just important, powerful people being protected.
Right, and
I think that goes to the heart of what I think has so many people, including Jerome,
completely understand that.
Worked up over so much of this.
Yeah, no, and I think that's completely within bounds to be asking, who benefited from this, who was this stuff going on. But for instance, murder, torture, that's obviously more serious even than exploiting young ladies for inappropriate massages and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to get at is where is that coming up in context? Who's emailing about that and what are they saying?
So it's from jeevacations@gmail.com is confirmed to be one of his
Epstein's
for the sake of this stuff. And it's him saying, hey, there's one specific that says, Hope you're okay. By the way, I love the torture video. There are other times where he's mentioning what are code words. If you are familiar with the dark web and their terminology, code words for specific
I'm not.
time. Okay,
Yeah,
I am because I've actually been involved in trying to help take down some of these groups.
You got to be our dark web whisperer.
Yes.
Then.
So point being is that these are not commonly used phrases that would innocently be used between friends in an email. These are specific types of things you would use to search for this kind of content, and some of them are code words for what's called snuff films,
Sure.
and those
Okay.
are
That's where somebody's actually killed.
for
Right.
pleasure purposes.
Right, yeah.
So it's not, so it's very
So
much that sort of thing. These are being sent from and sometimes to jeevacations@gmail.com.
And we don't know who they're with.
They messed up the redaction. So there are a couple names that have previously been identified before this, but they completely denied it. So I can't remember her name. I don't want to say anybody's name wrong, so I'll look that up during the break.
No, I get
but
that.
Yeah.
Point being is that there are
Our
people,
lawyers thank you for that.
Yes,
By the way.
yes. So we take journalistic accuracy very important, but
It is important.
But there are people that they messed up the redactions of, and so
Okay.
you can look into them and see that they've been either accused by other victims or that they have been tangentially related to this case for a while now, and we are now seeing emails that are supposedly, how are we supposed to know if they're real emails or not, if not for the DOJ, because they're saying that some of the tips could be wrong, and they're saying that some of this information is not all going to be verified and validated.
Sure.
But it's just, it's concerning, to say the
No,
least.
Every time we get a big dump, it just means there's more that we know that we don't know.
Totally get that. And I'm not trying to dismiss it in any way. I'm just
Right.
trying to get my brain around what
Right.
exactly we're dealing with here.
Okay, a couple quick notes here. Brendan Donovan not going to be back as a Cardinal.
Oh.
Yeah, he's been traded to the Mariners as part of a three-way deal that includes the Mariners, the Cardinals, and the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay.
ESPN is reporting that the Cardinals are going to get 3 prospects in total and some draft picks as part of that trade.
Okay.
Also, the 19th ranked Billikens.
Wow.
They have cracked the top
Moving
20
on
in the
up.
country. 19th ranked Billikens are on the road tonight. They're going to be in North Carolina to take on Davidson College. There's a place called Davidson College in North Carolina. I didn't know that until this morning. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock. That game's going to be on CBS Sports Network. SLU 21-1.
Woo!
Wow.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information. You want to take the place of what I trust.
You know, it's the middle of winter and we've been spending a lot of time indoors. And maybe you're like me, and the more time you spend indoors, you look around and you think, I should make some changes in here. I should maybe spruce this place up. Maybe do something new. Maybe you're thinking about new flooring. And if you are, well, of course, I have the place for you. It's Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're a locally owned and operated family business. They've been in business for more than 30 years, so you know you can count on them. I've used them in the past. I had a great experience with them, and you will too. If it's variety that you're looking for, well, they've got it. They've got carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone. Plenty of options for you to choose from. And with Michael's, you know your installation is going to be done right the first time because it's being done by the experts at Michael's. With Michael's, you get the best combination ever. You get great money, or great value, and great. That would be a great way, great promotion. But you get great value and great quality. If you're interested, you can shop in store at one of their 3 locations on Olive and Creek or on Town Square in Darting Prairie or on Main Street in St. Peters, or you can just go online to igotfloored.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Carl Higbee, host of Frontline on Newsmax TV, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, I'm back.
Yay.
It's cold.
Yes, it is. Not yay.
Just saying.
Actually, the past 2 days have felt nice out.
I was, and I'll talk about this conversation I had with this woman I was seated next to on the plane the other day, or yesterday actually, and we were looking at the weather thing when we landed, and it said like 29 degrees, and she's like, "Oh my goodness," because she lives in Florida, and
yeah.
I went, "Oh," I said, "Actually, 29, 30 degrees. That we're fine with that.
Right.
That's sweatshirt weather here,
Right now it is, yeah, because we're used to that bitter cold.
That's what was funny is our first game at Bayuk, which that's the one that I was telling you in that when we talked on Friday, I guess it was. It turns out that that was Yadi's hometown.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we're pretty sure that's one of the fields he played on growing up.
Probably.
Most likely. So I actually was catching, probably, if I'm trying to confirm it, but I think I was catching exactly where Yadi used to catch.
Woohoo.
Which was fun. But we were playing that first game, and it's like 83 or 84 degrees. I mean, just what you'd expect in that part of the world. And the umpires both had the long sleeve hoodies, thin hoodies with the hood over their head. And I'm thinking, we're sweating like crazy, and these guys are wearing the long sleeves to stay warm because it was in the low 80s.
So it wasn't like shading themselves.
Well,
with it.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering about the hood thing because I wonder if that was that. But the long sleeve stuff, I was like, are they cold? That doesn't,
I don't know because I mean, I don't want to make assumptions. But sometimes, like in the middle of the summer, like the guys who are like handling the lawn care and stuff are out there in the hot sun, so they've got like hoods and sleeves on to to keep themselves cool.
That could be it. Yeah.
So what I was told growing up was that you get like a very breathable material, but what happens is as you're sweating, it catches into the material. It basically insulates you with your own moisture, and it keeps you cooler than if you.
That's what I'm thinking.
I will go with that.
My theory.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe, even if you're from the tropics, that you're cold at 83 degrees.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I think you would be very comfortable.
We were just really kind of confused.
I choose to believe that.
Okay, let's do that. But it was funny, that one game. So my the pitcher, that game that I was talking about, he threw a fantastic game. And the umpire, he had broken English, but enough to where we could communicate a little bit because catchers and umpires talk a lot during the game. And he points at the pitcher. He goes, "How old? How old?" Because this was a 45 and over tournament. And I said, "I think he's 56. And I expected the umpire to say, "That's really good for 56. And he looks at me and goes, "Look older."
Really?
And so I went, no. I just pointed out, I said, "He's just ugly."
Wow.
Aw, that's not nice.
No,
Look older.
Oh my goodness! And
wow.
And so we had a pretty good laugh about that. But yeah, it was a great. It was funny because when we were going down there, there were other guys who had either been to the tournament or other people who'd been to Puerto Rico, and they were giving me all of this. Almost all of the advice I was getting was how to stay safe.
Yeah.
It's like, be really careful, stay in groups and all this kind of stuff, which would be, I guess, good advice to anywhere you don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm sure there are areas where, foreigners and outsiders shouldn't be going. And our Airbnb was not in a wealthy area. Some of the homes were empty, and some of them, looks like they'd not recovered from hurricane damage. Many homes had bars all over them. The windows, the doors, they didn't really have garages, but carports.
Sure.
Kind of thing, to the point where it was so expected that some of them were decorative protective bars.
Sure.
And they just kind of built that into the aesthetic. Kind of cracked me up because we're on the highway by the airport there in San Juan, and there's a bunch of apartment buildings. And some of the third floor balconies had bars around the balcony. And I'm like, are you keeping Spider-Man out? Who's what? I mean, there's no ladder,
Do they have iguanas?
Well, the iguanas could have walked through these bars.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I guess that wouldn't keep anything.
I
like
actually
wildlife
only saw
out.
one iguana, which was.
But they're all freezing in Florida.
Yeah, like dropping and everything.
Dropping out of the trees.
But I got to tell you, at no point, because my teammates and I were talking about this yesterday as we were driving. At no point did we ever feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Not 1 point. Never.
I wonder if that's more of a, like, you want to overemphasize it just
Right.
because the last thing you want is for someone who's visiting to end up with a bad experience. And then that, I mean, a whole lot of Puerto Rico's commerce is tourism.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So if you end up with a bad rep because people are getting mugged or having issues while they're there, that's not going to be good for your tourism.
And there were a couple warnings that we really took seriously. Like, we were told repeatedly, don't go to the beach at night. Apparently, all kinds of sketchy, shady stuff happens at the beach at night.
I mean, I think that's kind of a good
like,
piece of advice most places.
No problem. We went in the daytime and had a great time swimming in the ocean and the pina colada cart that was out there on the beach and the bar that was across the way
Do you
there.
like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain?
That's right.
Sorry.
The funny part is, like, I'm not really a pina colada guy.
No, but when in Puerto Rico,
You just kind of have to. And so
when in San Juan.
I did. It's like whenever I go to Florida, I regardless of what meal it is, if they have key lime pie, I feel like I'm supposed to eat the key lime pie.
Oh, come on, Mike. You do not limit that to Florida.
That's true. But they have the real thing down there.
Gotcha.
But, and the beach was so much fun. We had a great time there. And
you're not sunburned.
I used a crap ton of sunscreen.
We were kind of taking bets on
I-
whether
am
or
I-
not
I
you
don't-
might
am
be a little
I-
lobstery.
Am I tanned at all? A little,
You look like maybe you have a little bit
yeah,
face.
yeah. I mean, I was coating the sunscreen on me because it was my first time out in the sun, this year.
Yeah.
And also I wear all that gear, so I'm,
That's true.
But my experience was the people in Puerto Rico went out of their way to be friendly and welcoming, including when there was a language barrier.
Yeah.
They were very patient and they were very welcoming, and we heard "Welcome to Puerto Rico" so many times. And I had nothing but a great experience there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are areas where are roughly, but my goodness, what a beautiful! I sent you guys some of those pictures and
Yeah.
videos from like the mountains.
Right.
We were driving through the mountains because we played all over the island.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody who's gone to Puerto Rico who said they had a bad time. or a
No,
bad
it was-
experience.
it was
I
a
think
gr-
it's generally considered a pretty fun place to visit.
Yeah, it really is.
Brazil's a lot like that as well. I had that similar experience when I was in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's just, they're very excited to see, Americans, British people, stuff like that. So it's like, oh, welcome. And then they're very happy to show off their English skills. So then they start to talk to you about the culture and ask you what it's like in America and all. And it was very precious. Kentucky's a lot like that too, despite the language barrier. If you've ever been to certain parts of Kentucky, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But
My grandparents lived in Owensboro. I know what you're talking about.
So coming from Northern Illinois, it was, you're in line somewhere and you just mind your own business. You don't talk to nobody. You buy your stuff, you leave, and that's that. In Kentucky, they're having full-on conversations. Like, people are asking me about my day and how things are going, and then there's chicken there, so they're eating chicken. It's just like, whoa, what world have I walked into?
Well, what's also funny is Puerto Ricans have their own time. They're not really in a hurry for anything.
Yeah, they're like an hour ahead of Eastern time zone,
Yeah.
but they're on their own time.
Yeah, they're. I mean, there's no
It's
really
island time. Hawaii's the same way.
Yeah, and so it's kind of you get there when you get there, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was funny because at the San Juan airport yesterday, we had an early flight, like 5:30 Atlantic time,
Yeah.
so like 3:30 our time here. I'm still trying to get caught up in all this, and there was one coffee shop that was open in the airport, so there was a pretty good line, and I was in it, and there were, I mean, I'd say probably a third of it were Americans, obviously Americans. I mean, Puerto Ricans are Americans, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like mainlanders. And there was, I mean, so stereotypical, the older guy with the T-shirt tucked into the khaki pants and the bright white shoes, and that guy, friendly,
Grandpa Fred.
Exactly. So Grandpa Fred is up there ordering his coffee, and I think they were from Wisconsin based on what some of them were wearing. And so there's a line. He's there ordering his stuff from the gal doing the register, and some of his friends were not in line, just kind of standing on their side waiting for him. And he decides to do the old grandpa dad jokes and, making her smile. And we're all looking at him like, dude. And finally, his friends or relatives or whoever it was, they were, what was his name? I think they said, it wasn't Fred. It was like Jerry or something like that. And they're like, all of a sudden you hear, Jerry, people are waiting in line. Stop talking. Move on.
It's like the Progressive commercial.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't need to know that.
That's right.
Come on.
Yeah, that's right. I was around and went, thank you. Oh my goodness. But by the way, because people were reacting a lot to the little videos I was sending from the ball field.
Yeah.
Okay, so Team Missouri went 2-2.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the last part of the tournament got rained out.
Yeah.
Which I guess they had
Stinks.
unusual amount of rain. So our goal was to get in the playoffs. Had the playoffs happened, we were in it.
Right.
So
you
mission
can take-
accomplished.
You can take that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I would
So,
take that.
Yep. So Team Missouri, I think we represented well.
Absolutely.
Well, Mike, while you were out having fun in Puerto Rico getting out of the cold, Missouri's lawmakers were wrestling with the question of how to lower our taxes, and we've got the update from one of the key Republicans at 6:35.
All right, we're pretty close to that season where you say, just like Susie was talking about a little bit ago, all right, what are we going to upgrade on our home this year? And it's not even just about what's going to look nice, although that matters. Also, what's going to up the value and maybe even the protection around your home. And that's why I like to work with my friends at STL FenceWorks, STLFenceWorks.com. Mike Ferguson for STL FenceWorks. They will show you how to transform your home into a safe, stylish retreat through their fencing. They also have really practical stuff like guttering and things like that as well. But these fences, we're talking American-made materials, and we're talking long warranties. We're talking about materials that are going to last. A lot of people say, but I just want to get that wood fence. That looks great. Yes, a lot of them do. FenceWorks, STL FenceWorks' fences look phenomenal as well. But here's the thing. You get that wood, and you say, look, that's a little bit cheaper. Except you've got to treat it, you got to stain it, and right away it now becomes more expensive, and you've got to go out from time to time and retreat it and restain it and then replace it because the insects or whatever gets through it. Not the case with STL FenceWorks. So they can turn a normal backyard into something that looks like an exclusive retreat just by the way they protect it. They've got flexible financing options. They've got personalized designs. They will cater it to your families and your home's needs. So STLFenceWorks.com. Go see what they can do as far as your decks and your fences. They've got examples of it right there on the website, STLFenceWorks.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Did you know that 40% of Missouri's fourth graders can barely read? Brenda Talent of the Show Me Institute will let us know what we can do about this at 4:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, to even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon, then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, Missouri's lawmakers making some progress on some key promises that, frankly, been made to all of us. Campaign, post-inauguration, so we've got a lot of ground to cover here. We're now joined by State Senator Curtis Trent, and we talked to Curtis on opening day as well. Hey, Curtis, let me start with what I guess the Democrats want to do as far as some roadblocks here, because really they don't have a lot of leverage, just numerically. Let's be honest about that. But they've gotten the governor's nominations for a bunch of appointments kind of involved in some of the leverage debates and the politics of it. So where does that stand right now? Because I know that there were some issues with some of these appointments, and this has to do with Democratic objections. And I don't get the feeling that it's necessarily about the people who have been nominated.
Yes, that's right. I think that there's a lot of slowdown right now on just generally, not just appointments, but bills as well. And that has been the case since the beginning of session. And yeah, I think there's a pathway to work through that, over time here. But things certainly are a bit slower right now than perhaps you would normally see at the beginning of a session, at least on the floor. Committee work is still proceeding normally.
Okay, now is this basically, or is this all about the tax reform, or are there other things they're trying to slow down?
No, I think this is largely in response to how session ended last year, how some of the special sessions went. If folks remember, there's a lot of significant legislation that was passed, toward the end of last session on Proposition A, on Amendment 3. Issues like that, and so I think there's still some heartburn over those issues.
Good morning, Curtis. This is Susie Moore. One of the big stories last week, of course, was the fact that the State of the Judiciary speech got called off. Can you speak to that a little bit? So for the listeners who aren't familiar with the issues, what happened there?
Yeah, so last year there was a bill passed, Senate Bill 22, which was a bill that basically put more authority in the hands of the Secretary of State to write ballot language, and when there's disputes over ballot language on issues, to put that process more in the hands of the Secretary of State. And the Supreme Court decided to strike that bill down as a violation of the original purpose clause of the Constitution, which is one of the procedural constitutional issues, and for folks out there whose eyes are glazing over right now, those are important constitutional provisions, how bills are passed through the legislature. But I think a lot of folks felt like this was a real departure from the court's previous doctrine on original purpose, and really created some questions about how the legislature will work through some of these issues going forward if this new standard is going to be universally applied to future bills.
Yeah, and of course, we've also got the so-called Missouri plan for, selecting a lot of judges. And anytime you've got, controversial rulings like this, there are some people, and I'll be really honest, I'm warming up to the idea, I'm on board that we need to scrap the Missouri plan and come up with, something that maybe was more reflective of like what we do at the national level. Is that something the legislature, now I don't expect that that'd be something that you'd knock out in 1 year or anything like that, but is scrapping the Missouri plan something that the legislature at some point will look at?
Well, there have been bills filed that would change how that plan works. And again, for those that are not familiar with it, basically for your appellate judges, your Supreme Court judges, there's a panel. Some of them are appointed by the governor. Some of the panelists are appointed by or are elected by lawyers. And that panel then selects the judges which the governor gets to choose from to make appointments on those courts. And so, yeah, it has long been felt by some that there's a little bit of a disconnect between accountability to the public and how the judges are selected. And when you have rulings like this, it creates a lot of talk around whether or not that plan should be revisited. And usually, one of the suggested changes would be to have direct election of judges, like we do in most counties around the state, and do that for the appellate or at least for the Supreme Court judges as well. I think that probably will be discussed more this year than typically is. There may be other proposals out there on judge selection that could be discussed, but I think that is a natural response of what some see as the politicization of the court, especially when the court plan is billed as the nonpartisan court plan and is supposed to keep politics out of these decisions.
Curtis, obviously, one of the primary priorities this session is tax reform. I mean, we've been talking about that with you previously, with other lawmakers, and that's very front and center. But what are some of the other big issues that you are optimistic will get addressed in this session?
Truth in sentencing is another big issue that I'm very optimistic about, trying to create more clarity around how much time a defendant is going to serve when they've been convicted of a crime, both for the victim, so they have some certainty around what the perpetrator is going to actually serve, so the judge has some certainty around whether or not the time that they're sentencing someone to serve is actually going to be served, and frankly, some certainty for the defendant as well. Sometimes now I think people are leaving the courtroom and no one is really clear on how long someone who's been convicted is going to serve in jail, and it just creates a lot of heartache for victims, and it really decreases the deterrent value of the penalties that we're assessing on crimes.
We're visiting with State Senator Curtis Trent. Regulations, REINS Act sort of approach as well. This is something that a lot of grassroots groups and conservative groups are really pushing, especially since there was the Chevron ruling at the U.S. Supreme Court level here. What's the status of the regulatory reform? And again, we're getting into a lot of stuff that's kind of wonky, but really what we're talking about is adding a regulatory cost to businesses and the cost of starting a business or growing a business in the state. That seems to be something, at least looking from a distance over here, Curtis, that seems to be picking up steam. I mean, there's a lot of like co-sponsors on board that sort of reform, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. That is a really important piece of legislation when you think about the overall business climate in Missouri, being able to create high-paying jobs and being able to attract businesses to the state. Basically, and I also think that it's very important when it comes to separation of powers and just basics of good governance. So basically, what it does is it would require that regulations that have a certain amount of economic impact on business would have to return to the legislature and be approved by the legislature before they could go into effect. And the writing of regulations looks a lot like the writing of legislation, and that is really the proper domain of the legislature, not the executive branch, to may have the final approval on any kind of legislative action. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for the legislature to get one final look at some of these major regulations that can really have far-sweeping effects and can have hundreds of millions of dollars of impact on Missouri businesses.
Curtis, you mentioned that committee work is moving along at a normal or expected pace. What are some of the bigger committee items or hearings that we can be keeping an eye on maybe this week or the following week?
Well, one of the bills is one that I'm sponsoring, and it's actually going to have a hearing later today, and that's open enrollment. Education reform is another one of those very important issues. I think has a big impact on businesses and families and opportunities that's available for kids. Open enrollment is a very modest proposal that would allow for students to be able to move between districts without having to change their place of residence. Right now we have open enrollment for kids whose parents have the means to pick up and move to a different district, or maybe who have relatives living in a different district. And that's really an option that I think should be available to kids of any means.
Yeah, that's one of the things is with such an overwhelming Republican and an overwhelming conservative legislature, there's a lot of people who say, okay, we're taking baby steps and a little nibble out of the problem here on this, but oh my goodness, are we going to get to where we are a full-fledged school choice education freedom state in Missouri sooner rather than later, or is it just going to be these kind of baby steps? I think a lot of people really underestimate how powerful, especially in the rural areas, the teachers' unions and the school administrators are.
Yeah, no, it's very strong. I've been working on these issues for some time now, and progress has certainly been slower than I would have liked to seen. But I increasingly feel like the pressure is building to get some of these big reforms done, particularly on education. I'm a strong proponent of the voucher system where the money would follow the child, and parents would have more control over their child's educational destiny. And you would create a market if you had a system of that nature where you would create all kinds of new educational opportunities, things around, tutoring, and make homeschooling more accessible to many people. It would make other types of private schools accessible, and it would create educational products that don't even exist right now, as entrepreneurs would enter that new market space and try to innovate in the education space. And that's really the dynamics that we need to not only give kids great opportunity, no matter what their circumstances are, but to also improve the quality of the public schools. Because I have a great deal of confidence that in a more competitive market, our public schools would excel and thrive in that environment too.
So it's kind of, I believe it was New Mexico that went to a plan kind of like that. So is it kind of modeled after that, what you're talking about?
Yeah, there have been other states that have done something similar to this, using Education Savings Account program, ESA program, and so yeah, those other states and the successes that they've seen are certainly inspiration for this. But as with everything, it always has a Missouri flavor.
Of course. All right, State Senator Curtis Trent. Really appreciate the update, Curtis. Thanks so much.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis. Why are some college Republicans being investigated in Illinois?
Because they're Republicans in Illinois? It's not quite that simple. But.
Well, we've got the details on that in the news dump coming up at 6:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Not mumbling, you meatheads. Rumbling, rumbling.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Doesn't matter anymore.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Country Mart's massive meat sale this Thursday and Friday, February 5th and 6th. A sale so big, we could only call it a massive meat sale. Premium sliced bacon, $3.49 a pound. Boneless ribeyes, $8.99 a pound. Baby back pork ribs, $2.99 a pound. Boneless pork loins, $1.89 a pound. Boneless beef tenderloins, $12.99 a pound. Visit our Facebook page to see everything. St. Clair Country Mart on Plaza Drive in St. Clair. Hurry while supplies last. Sorry, no rain checks.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray And visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, I got kind of an ugly story here. A former area high school basketball coach is now in jail.
Yuck.
He doesn't know for how long, but he's in jail. Also, Trump administration giving some big talk about the Epstein case when asked about that. And Cardinals trade away one of their starters, and the Billikens back on the court tonight with some national coverage.
Wow.
As they should. They're now a top 20 team in the country. All right, 6:50 right now. Let's do another news dump.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, a former MICDS high school basketball coach admits to sending explicit photos of himself to some students.
What a dummy.
This is gross.
And on top of that, but
absolutely.
just like, ugh.
Yeah, this apparently started in 2024. Prosecutors say 29-year-old Lee Bogan used social media to start sexual conversations with at least two girls. The reports and the prosecutors say he was trying to gauge the interest of multiple students in either a romantic or just an outright sexual relationship.
How about no?
Yeah. So the girls, though, instead, what happened is they screenshot the photos that he sent, reported him, and that led to the arrest.
Girls.
Yes.
Smart girls.
Good
Very
on them.
good.
Yep. On Monday, Bogan pled guilty in federal court to one count of attempting to receive child pornography. He's going to be sentenced in May. He could face up to 20 years in prison. The plea deal that is being submitted is 90 months in prison. So what he gets remains to be seen. It's early May. He's going to be sentenced.
Okay. Well, hopefully he goes away for a long time.
Yes.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
And here's the, one, I don't get it. But two, who on earth thinks you're going to get away with that in today's digital world?
Somebody who's dumb. This is my point.
Yes.
Not only creepy, but dumb.
Yeah, man.
Well, or somebody that's gotten away with doing this in the past.
Well, that's an unfortunate problem.
Well,
because
they're looking at his previous employment.
Yeah. Well, there was one of the teachers a few months ago that was it was a principal. It was a principal, and he ended up being arrested, and they went back and traced his previous employment. I don't want to say because I think I remember which school it was, but it turns out that he had a pattern of this. And, of course, he'd get run out of one place and end up in another public school, and then he'd get there. Now, MICDS is obviously a private school, but there sometimes is a pattern, and too many times people just like, I don't want to deal with this, and they just kind of cover it up.
Yeah, no, that's important to encourage others to speak up when stuff like this happens and nip it in the bud as soon as possible.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, Department of Justice, as you know, releasing more Epstein files on Friday, millions of pages. And as another aside to this, President Bill Clinton, former Senator and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. Well,
they say they're going to.
They say they're going to, but I think they keep wanting to put stipulations on it.
Right. That's not how testimonies work, though.
Right. The House was getting ready to vote on holding them in contempt.
Right, which I think it would have passed.
It would have. I think so, too.
Even some Democrats were like, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. It came out of committee, bipartisan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We'll see what happens on it.
Sorry.
Is there a date that they were scheduled to testify, or are they still?
There have been several that ended up falling through, but now that they're saying, okay, well, fine, we will. I don't think they've settled on a new date, and I think Comer's like, I don't know if we're going to agree on a deal here because they haven't been abiding by this.
Yeah, here's the deal: we subpoenaed you, come testify.
Yeah,
there's the deal. Yep. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche was on the Ingram Angle on Fox, and he says now, when you look at those millions of pages that were released. He said just because a name appears in the documents, it doesn't mean necessarily that they've committed a crime.
It is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will.
I'm not confident that that's going to happen, but I hope that there's clearly a lot of horrible crimes that happen. I would like to see more aggressive prosecutions on this, but we'll see what happens. I mean, like you pointed out earlier, Susie, they've had all this material for years and years and years, and there's a big lack of people in jail.
Yeah, so that could mean a couple of different things. That could mean that there's been a big cover-up and powerful people have been protected. Cannot rule that out. It could also mean, at least in some instances, that maybe there was something to go on and they investigated it and they couldn't turn it into something that they could actually follow up on and prosecute. Sometimes you get, a little piece of information, but it's not enough to actually proceed with the prosecution. There's a lot of unknowns here. And I do want to say something about President Trump's comment on it, because I agree it's very dismissive. It's very Trumpian in my view, because he's annoyed because over and over and over again, he's been lumped in with this and accused of these horrible things, which I gotta believe if they really had anything on him, it would have come out a long time ago. He's not that powerful because most of the powerful people hate him. So anyway, I think he's being very kind of, self-absorbed about it and saying, look, I'm tired of this, move on. But that is insensitive to the people who are victimized. And I agree with that.
All right, a chapter of a conservative college group at the University of Illinois, we're talking in Champaign, is under a Title VI investigation over a social media post about Alex Preddy's death. Fox 32 Chicago's reporter Paris Schutz has the story.
The college Republicans at the University of Illinois posted an animated screenshot that showed the moments before the killing of Alex Preddy. And the caption under that image said, "Only traitors help invaders." They since took that post down. I did reach out to the college Republicans, and they said the image was AI generated and used as a symbolic political imagery to convey support for law enforcement and sovereignty. It was not intended to depict a real event, a real individual, or to endorse harm or violence toward anyone. The university official said to me in a statement, quote, "We condemn rhetoric or imagery that appears to glorify violence or demean individuals or groups based on identity or beliefs."
Okay, so good taste, bad taste, that's obviously subjective. First Amendment situation here?
Well, yeah, but bad idea.
Yeah,
just, really,
not a
poor,
smart
poor
idea.
form.
Yeah.
But yeah, are we talking about? Colleges also have the ability to rein in some of their groups, so the First Amendment has some boundaries on it in that context. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story.
It
is. And I'm not
is.
familiar with Title VI the way I am like Title IX.
No, I would need to take a closer look at that.
Yep. All right, let's see here. Brendan Donovan traded to the Mariners. That was announced last night. 19th ranked Billikens on the road tonight. They're going to be in North Carolina to take on Davidson College. Tip-off for that one is 8 if you want to watch it. It's going to be on the CBS Sports Network. SLU 21-1. Blues lost on the road again, coming up short against the Predators. Final score 5-3.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
News, analysis, opinion.
It is unacceptable that our government comes in and takes people off the streets. Ice out now!
Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated.
How are we supposed to feed our families?
Daily information from the Israeli armed forces about preparativeness here in Israel.
1019 and 94.1.
You're the most reliable station I know. St. Louis is #1
for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The House is gearing up for a vote today on ending the 4-day-old partial government shutdown. Majority Leader Steve Scalise says there's been a whole lot of horse trading going on.
We always work till the midnight hour to get the votes, and you never start the process with everybody on board. You work through it. And you could say that with every major bill we pass.
Scalise says President Trump has been actively involved in the process.
Obviously, the president really wants this. The president's going to still be negotiating on the remaining homeland piece. But in the meantime, we want to make sure our troops are paid. We want to make sure we get the rest of the bills that are all identical to what we passed out of the House back a few weeks ago through to the president's desk.
The government, except for the Department of Homeland Security, would be funded through September. DHS would get 2 weeks' worth of funding while lawmakers debate ICE reforms. New York City's new Democratic Socialist mayor facing a barrage of criticism, and it's not only because mountains of rat-infested garbage have been piling up in the streets.
Several people have died in New York during the recent cold snap, and hypothermia is suspected of playing a role in the majority of cases. Critics say Mayor Zohran Mamdani's emphasis on voluntary shelter placement leaves vulnerable people exposed during dangerous weather. They argue that the broader use of enforcement in voluntary intervention, especially for those with severe mental illness or addiction who refuse shelter, might have saved lives. Bob Agnew reporting.
Every Homeland Security officer on the ground, and that includes ICE agents, being issued body cameras. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says it starts in Minneapolis and will subsequently go nationwide. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia has launched another major attack on Ukraine, this time using 450 drones and 70 missiles. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 20 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 136. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, to even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon. Then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Couch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payment's interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
It's a bully, but we aren't afraid of a fight. It's elusive, but our focus never fades. It's deadly, but we were born to defeat cancer. You may not have heard of us, but our work has helped millions impacted by cancer. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We are leaders in advancing breakthroughs in immunotherapy, genomics, and personalized medicine. This research saves lives. After 65 years of fighting blood cancers, we've arrived at a game-changing belief. The cures for cancer are in our blood. The drugs and treatments we've developed for blood cancers have helped people affected by many different types of cancers. We are the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Beating cancer is in our blood. Learn more at lls.org.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, on my flight back yesterday, I ended up sitting next to one of them.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to tell you how I chose to handle it.
Yeah. I mean, you made it back, so.
I made it back, exactly.
You didn't get kicked off the flight, so that's a good thing.
No, yeah. Which is something I think you've seen some of these videos on social media that can escalate very, very, very quickly on those sorts of things. And so after a few minutes, I'm like, oh, I see the situation I'm in here. So we'll get to that in a second. But I do need to get caught up on the news. Like, seriously. When I took my trip, I was like, I am not keeping track of what's happening. I'm not getting on social media. I'm only getting on to post the updates I promised. I just unplugged. So that means I need to get caught up. And so among my diet of reading, obviously, is Red State. So, Susie, where should I start now that I'm back?
This is the Red State Rundown.
There's no shortage of news coming out of Minnesota, of course. One of the articles that we've got up is from a picture that was circulating yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. Minnesota anti-ice crew imitating iconic World War II pick might be one of their most cringeworthy moves yet. Did you see this?
I didn't see it.
It was a group of Minnesota protest people, anti-ice, whatever, and they were mimicking the Iwo Jima flag raising. It's the weirdest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. Nicarama has that story. Go check that one out. This is interesting, kind of a fallout from the Grammys, which happened on Sunday night. Ward Clark has a VIP piece up. The stolen land argument has reared up again, and it still makes no sense. So he's kind of debunking the whole Billie Eilish,
I did hear about
land. That. Anyway, it's a VIP
honestly,
article.
I know she's a big star because I've heard the name a bunch. I couldn't tell you a single Billie Eilish song. I don't know.
I couldn't off the top of my head. I suspect there's one or two I might recognize if I heard them, but
maybe. She seems,
know.
Just outside of that one comment, just the few headlines I've seen about her, she seems kind of dumb.
I don't know.
Yeah,
don't know. This is a big one, a big investigative piece by our managing editor, Jennifer Van Laar. You may remember that weird Chinese lab that was discovered out in California like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and had all kinds of biohazard stuff in it. This is connected to that. Fed seized 1,000 samples from illegal CCP biolab in Las Vegas owned by the defendant in the Reedley case. So it's connected to the same guy, same situation, only in Las Vegas.
So now we got at least 2 states.
Uh-huh.
Plus land being purchased either directly by Chinese entities or their front groups.
Yeah, and
around the country.
This particular property is located within 3 miles of Nellis Air Force Base.
Well, yeah. Then do you know there's actually land that butts up to Whiteman that is Chinese owned now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this is a deep dive by Jen. I really recommend you go check it out if you want to know more about this. And this is clearly, raising questions about how many of these labs are there.
Let's put that link up on the social media.
Sure.
Like on the Rumble chat box and Facebook comments.
Do
Let's
that
go
right
ahead and put
now.
that one out there. Okay. All right. So it was just kind of interesting discussion yesterday. And I think this is something that we see the arguments online and in real life and that sort of thing. So we're leaving actually, so my layover was in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So San Juan to Orlando, Orlando to St. Louis. And on the trip from Orlando to St. Louis, now, Southwest now has assigned seating. You don't just do the cattle call and take what you can get.
Your little floating bath toy with your boarding pass.
And so, unfortunately, on the trip to St. Louis, I ended up in the middle seat. Nobody likes the middle seat.
Nope.
But you always worry about who you're going to sit next to. Well, there's an elderly lady there. And I'm like, okay, all right. And so I sit down, and she's coughing up a storm.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, great. She's like, she goes, I'm just getting over a cold. I just talked to the doctor. He says I'm not contagious. I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine. But she's very, very talkative.
Mm-hmm.
I know her life story. I know her son's life story. I know her husband's life story.
Aww.
I know her daughter's life story. I know her son's special needs, but he's been excelling, and he got an Eagle Scout. He competes in the Special Olympics, and
Aww.
her husband's in a facility with Alzheimer's, and just a lot of, and she is a retired school teacher.
Okay.
And so, and she was very, very proud of like her accolades and her degrees and her certifications and, awards and things like that. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, certainly, and I just want to take a nap, but she continues to talk. And then at some point, she not knowing what I do for a living, she's like, well, I'm a CNN girl. She goes, I can't stand that other network.
Network.
I can't believe what's happening in this country. I can't believe that we elected him. I'm like, ooh, okay, now I see what's going on here. So you know what I said to shut her down? You know how I dealt with that? Nothing. I just went, well, he's polarizing. Some people like him, some people hate him. I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because when I'm out in the wild, I tend to not lead with, I'm a conservative talk show host.
Yeah.
I'm like, she goes, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a media personality, in St. Louis, and just kind of move on from there. Because people look for reasons to sort of escalate. Well, this was an old woman who certainly has an interesting life story. And she was talking about, I was on the board of, was it University Women, what's the American Association of University Women, which is kind of a very academic leftist organization.
Yeah.
So everything she's saying is that this is a leftist. But she was very chatty. Most of the time she's talking about her family and all the things. And so I'm just kind of in the situation. I'm like, I'm not getting into this. I'm just not.
It's not going to benefit you.
No. But
it's just going to ratchet up your blood pressure, right?
Right. And I'm more worried about her starting to scream at me, which never happened. We had I would say we have a pleasant conversation. She had a pleasant time talking to me and telling me her entire life story. But at one point there was a gal sitting on the other side of me, and she couldn't take it anymore, and she switched with like her boyfriend or something, and all of a sudden there's somebody else there because he had big headphones on. She just because this lady she just talked the whole time. Yeah. But that's the things where you get those videos, like viral videos of somebody arguing over politics, and I'm like, I'm just not doing that.
No, not in those. I mean, very, very rarely am I going to engage in something like this. I'm like you. I'll do the, oh, yeah, okay, and just kind of move on. And because, first of all, I'm spoiled because I have lots of outlets for my political views. And so I am not limited to the only time I've got a captive audience. So I realize that. But I also realize nothing good is going to come in that particular situation of trying to dialogue about politics. No one's going to change anyone's mind, and some people are probably going to get upset, and things might start getting thrown.
Right.
So yeah, you kind of have to do the little delicate.
Or if you want to have some fun, the best thing I found to do is just play dumb. So I had somebody a couple weeks ago that was like, "We have King Trump in office," and I'm like, "We do?"
Yeah.
Yes, he thinks he's king. Oh, that's not good. What are we doing about it? You just keep playing dumb and dumb and dumb until they get so exhausted trying to make it make sense to you that they just stop talking to you.
That's what I call dumb Socrates.
Yes.
So you're using the Socratic method, but instead of doing it from an intellectual perspective, you're like, tell me more. I didn't know about this. What?
So if I was in your situation, I can't believe we elected him. Who's him? Trump.
Yeah.
We did? When?
No.
And you would probably, she would be too flabbergasted to even have anything to say after that. I guarantee. Try
I
it.
thought Joe
try
Biden was president.
When did that happen?
And she goes home. You would not believe the dummy I was sitting next to on the plane.
Yeah. So and to this moment, I'm sure that she has no idea that I was the radio, that I'm the conservative guy in St. Louis, but or one of them. So she, and so at the end, her name is Margie.
Okay.
And I told Margie, I said, all right, so Margie, you seem to be somebody who likes a challenge, because she was very proud of, they told her that she wasn't college material, but she ended up getting a master's degree and, national
for
board,
Margie.
more board certificate, that sort of thing. And she was very, I am woman, hear me roar kind of thing. And I said, Margie, I'm going to be really inappropriate, and I'm going to offer you a challenge, because she had told me this entire story of, and she goes, okay. And I said, write a book. I said, here's what I think you ought to do. I said, I think you ought to boil this down to the 10 most important life lessons you feel like you've learned over the course of your life, and you're 80. And then write your biography, and then come lead people to the conclusions as to why you came up with those are the 10 life lessons.
Nice.
And so she was looking like, oh, okay.
That's going to be something she's going to really be thinking about.
Well, she's got plenty to work with, that's for sure.
Okay, you were so much nicer than I. My challenge would have been like, I would like for you to find the person who asked. Who asked for her life story.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be just mean to be. I mean, some people are just jerks, but some people are just.
She's lonely.
Yeah,
she really wanted validation, and her husband's has Alzheimer's, and her son's special needs, and so I think that there was somebody that she's like, oh, he'll listen, and just kept going the whole time.
Well, bless your heart, Mike.
2+ hours, 2.5 hours of learning Margie's
God
very nice little old lady there, but she definitely was very proud of her awards and accolades, because I think I heard about all of them.
Oh. Well, good on you for being kind enough to indulge her.
She was Citizen of the Year in her county.
Oh, she sounds like a lovely lady. Misguided, but lovely. There's another Trump administration official who's angered Second Amendment advocates. Mm-hmm. Tell us what you think about what Janine Pirro had to say about guns at 720.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A cross between Socrates and Dirty Harry.
On Newstalk STL. Colombo and Company.
Republicans negotiating with Democrats and themselves to find a deal to end the new government shutdown. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his handpicked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Two sounds that can wreck your sleep. A drip and a toilet that won't stop running.
Drip, drip, all night.
Good news. We're doing plumbing now. Same folks, same care, same we do it right.
Leaky faucet, running toilet.
Or a stubborn clog, call Grasser.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Colombo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, it's Chris Salcedo, your liberty-loving Latino on Newsmax. Hey, everybody likes Mike. Mike Ferguson in the morning, News Talk, STL.
All right, one of the weak spots in the Trump administration that the Trump administration has is with actual conservatives, actual constitutionalists, it's the Second Amendment. Second Amendment's becoming more and more of an Achilles heel for them when it comes to relationships with the Second Amendment activist groups that have been around for decades.
Mm-hmm.
This is real, and they sort of keep doing it to themselves. So Jeanine Pirro, who's now the U.S. District Attorney in D.C.
Correct.
So she was on, I think it was Shannon Bream's show on Fox, and they were talking about, the gun cases, the protesters, and she decided to, kind of get real animated, and she ended up saying this on Fox News.
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
Okay.
I don't know how much you could go, but what was the context? Because she says, I don't care if you're a law-abiding citizen and you have a license.
In someplace else.
Right.
Okay. This is the one thing I'm going to point out. I want to know what led up to that, because I think she was talking, because you can have a license to carry in D.C. Now, that set aside the fact that if you're a Second Amendment advocate, you shouldn't have to have the license anyway. So that's a completely legitimate gripe. But I think she was referring specifically to if you're coming in and just because you're licensed elsewhere doesn't mean you're licensed here.
I would like to put on record, though, that Washington, D.C. is a reciprocity state, meaning that if you have a
valid state, it's a
territory,
right,
but yeah,
not territory, but district, yeah.
So if you have your valid license, and they do have additional licenses you have, but if you have a valid concealed carry license from out of state, they reciprocate that and they honor that while you're in D.C.
Okay, so if they did, then she's really wrong.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, I feel like there's two levels. There's the technical level, and I think I really do want to see what led up to that. Just
They were talking about the pretty.
No,
stuff,
I know, but I want to hear the way the conversation
Right.
went from a technical perspective. But then on top of that, she's got an ideological and a
Right.
Bill of Rights issue, and she needs to rethink how she's approaching it.
And if this were a one-off, that's one thing. But then you stack that onto what Kash Patel said, and then he later tried to soft pedal a little bit. What the reaction to what Kristi Noem said, what the president said himself. So you've got a pattern of basically anti-Second Amendment comments coming, and that leads me to the kind of the bigger question. Midterms this year, Second Amendment groups have made it very clear over the past. Basically, they said you've had a year of this second administration. We're not getting what we think we should be getting as far as preserving the Second Amendment rights in this country. We've got a lot of lip service, but we don't have any results. And and then when you see Jeanine Pirro, I mean, I found that clip on Gun Owners of America's social media page.
Right.
And so here's the thing: is Second Amendment groups are key to Republican victories because of the get out the vote, because of their base who says, we're looking at you saying, are these people, somebody we should go out of our way to show up to vote for, especially in these off-year elections. Several of them, they're not going to go advocate for the Democrats. That's not going to happen.
No.
But if they sit on their hands and go, why should we help you? You're not helping us. And they just sit back. They're people, if they show up, are probably going to vote Republican. But Republicans generally just assume they get that free support from these Second Amendment groups. And Second Amendment groups are making it very clear. Look at everything that you're saying. Look at everything that you're doing and not doing. we may sit this one out. And if that happens, it's going to be really, really hard for the Republicans to keep their majorities.
Yeah, if I'm a Republican running for re-election or running for election in the midterms, I'm getting on the horn with the White House and saying, get this fixed.
Right.
You need somebody with strong 2A background to be, first of all, teaching you all the basics, and you need to revise your messaging on this.
Right. And just basic what Jeanine Pirro just said right there, my first thought is she should be fired from that. She has disqualified herself.
Yes.
If that is her understanding of the Second Amendment and of the Bill of Rights, she has no business being somebody that is supposed to protect our rights and interpret the law if that's her understanding of the Second Amendment.
And the crazy thing about it is, if we're talking about this in the context of someone on the right who brought a gun someplace where people were questioning whether it was appropriate for them or not, this messaging wouldn't be coming out.
Correct.
They're reacting to this because of the partisan spin, and they're not doing their homework, and it's just not a good look.
Well, and this also follows. Remember, at some point there was somebody who said, if you're, if you're got the gender dysphoria and you're caught up in the trans movement, this clearly a mental illness, and you shouldn't be allowed to have guns either. And to the credit of the 2A community, they're like, whoa. They may be crazy, and I think it's obviously a mental dysfunction. But if they haven't committed a violent crime, they've got Second Amendment rights too, just like everybody else.
Well, and specifically to her exact words, the Heller decision in 2008, the Supreme Court decision said specifically in D.C., people do have the right to legally have their firearms on them.
Yeah. They basically ruled the Second Amendment means what it says.
Exactly. And they also struck down the handgun ban. So if a bunch of people that had valid concealed carry license, I mean, there are some other sort of restrictions, but there's nothing explicitly saying you cannot have a concealed carry license and come to D.C. and keep your firearm on you. If enough people showed up from that area and showed up to D.C. in a protest, would she have the authority to even do anything? I mean, if she was going to lock them all up and
mark
arrest
her
them,
words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you are a law-abiding gun owner.
So that would then be a violation of a Supreme Court ruling. So Susie, would that be a civil rights matter at that point? What would be?
Yeah.
So you could sue and potentially win a lawsuit against them if they try to enforce it on you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it absolutely would be subject to that kind of challenge. Yeah. I mean, I do want to go back and see the full clip because I want to know what led her to verbally to that down that path, because I do think it seemed to me like she was trying to make a distinction between somebody else's license and a DC license. But if they follow reciprocity, then that shouldn't matter anyway.
You cannot reside for more than 183 days in DC as somebody outside of the state with a valid firearms license. That's the only other restriction I've seen. There's also a tax you have to pay to have it honored or something like that. But in terms of a valid Missouri concealed carry license, from everything I just saw, it would be reciprocated by DC.
I did see Congressman Greg Steubing pushing back on that. And say he's like, well, guess what? I'm licensed in Florida and D.C., so maybe take a seat.
Yeah, and somebody else, maybe, I don't think it was him, there was another one who said, I'm licensed in my state. I need to protect myself. I'm bringing my gun to D.C.
Yeah, and you're not putting me in jail over that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it almost kind of harkens back to right after January 6th, when not right after, but when the Biden administration, when Biden took office, and then there was a very strong, look at people just who were present in the area and had a firearm, whether or not that was breaking any laws. And it was like, they literally didn't do anything. They didn't go into the Capitol. They didn't get involved in anything, but they were present. They had a gun. That was not, I mean, that they need to get somebody focused on this and get their messaging in order.
Yeah, see, and when you look at not even just the messaging, but the relationship with the part of the conservative movement that focuses on this. There's part of the conservative movement that's about pro-life. There's another one that's about tax reform. There's about second. There's all these different.
You can't take them for granted.
No, you cannot. And I've heard some Republicans get really mad and say, "But if you stay home, then the Democrats are going to win." And my answer is, if the Second Amendment is your focus, your National Association of Gun Rights, your GOA, your NRA, your American Firearms Association, and you've been pounding the table saying, you're taking us for granted, you're not delivering, but you expect us to spend millions of dollars to support you, we're out unless we see some results. I can't say I really blame them. They're not working against the Republicans, and they're not working for the Democrats, but they're just saying, you want to go without us, then go without us.
I do need to issue a correction real quick. What I was looking at said that the state of Washington reciprocates. D.C. specifically, you have to have a valid D.C. specific.
That's what she was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm glad we corrected that.
Yes,
there,
I
yeah.
wanted to make sure because
Yeah.
I was reading through that and I did not realize it separated D.C. from Washington at that point.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So technically, she might have been technically accurate on what she was saying, but it's glossing over the larger 2A issue,
Well,
and it's
yeah.
horrible look for.
It basically, because she was blustering and gesturing and,
I
and
know,
everything
she was
that
doing
goes with.
Janine.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you have basically a reality show administration, which is kind of what we've got here. Is that this case is I don't give a crap about the Second Amendment. I'm going to talk tough, and you bring and literally what you said. I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner in your state. If you bring that gun into the district, so basically. The District of Columbia is a Second Amendment-free zone, is essentially what she's declaring. And I don't think somebody like that should have a job in the administration, especially as a federal prosecutor who's supposed to be enforcing not just the law, but the Bill of Rights.
Well, and here's how ridiculous it is, because upon making sure I reread that to make sure I was being more accurate. So if you're in Washington and your concealed carry is still honored, but you go on the wrong street into D.C., you can't even pass through D.C. with a valid firearm license. That's what
not
it's
Washington State. Washington State's the other
State.
side of the country.
with D.C.
Yeah.
No, that's
Virginia, Maryland.
In the area, if you are in the area, it reciprocates. The District of D.C. itself, if they don't even allow for lawful transportation, even if you have a valid concealed carry. So you go through the wrong street, and now all of a sudden you could be a felon.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a serious problem, and it needs to be addressed with people that understand the Second Amendment and can handle it seriously. And Janine didn't demonstrate that here, but it does highlight the issue there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in Fairfax, and Virginia's about to have some bad gun laws because of their supermajority.
Yeah.
But as of right now, let's say I think you can be concealed carry in Virginia. And then, but you can't go into the district with it.
Here's what I'm saying, though, is that if those who are in the Republican side don't get mad at the gun groups for deciding to sit this one out, I don't blame them.
Well, get on the horn and make sure that they don't sit it out because get the administration to pay attention so that they don't sit it out.
Right, because, I mean, you've got a pattern here.
Right.
And the Second Amendment is just not a priority. I mean, there's a lot of stuff the Trump administration is getting right. Don't get me wrong, but they're getting this one really, really, really wrong.
I don't know. I'm a rep. I'm getting on the horn with them and get them in
saying,
line.
You're killing me here, man.
Yeah.
And it's
politically.
One thing for President Trump to issue a statement that is inaccurate in the moment because we kind of expect that. But Kash Patel also issued statements saying you can't have guns on you. You're not. Freddie was not within his right, which I fact checked, and he was within his right. So it's how many dots on a graph before you start to form a line, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the line's already formed.
Now, also, though, I've been wondering what happens when two of the most obnoxious media personalities meet up, and I'm not talking about Mike and Susie. You can hear that for yourself at 7:35. We apologize in advance.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Let me just say this with all due respect. You really don't know what you're talking about right now.
On NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow to even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon. Then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Couch.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I have not seen the First Lady's movie titled Melania, but judging by the numbers, I'm one of the few not to see it. Leftists were already labeling it as a publicity stunt. You have to give them credit. They do know publicity stunts. They were also trashing it, basically trying to chase away any audience. They failed miserably. Oh, and remember the Obamas have had 2 movies. Did you or anyone you know see the 2016 movie, South Side with You, the feature movie about Barack and Michelle's first date? The leftist media gave it a lot of free, positive coverage. Plus, it played at the Sundance Film Festival, opened in 900 theaters, 6 foreign countries, running 70 days. 70 days, and in that time, it collected less than $7 million over 70 days. Then there's the final year, based on Obama's last year in office. It's been out a couple of weeks. You probably didn't even know about it, did you? Well, in 2 weeks, it's brought in less than 300,000. Last weekend, Melania, despite negative advance press, brought in $7 million. Oh, the left does not want to talk about it, and it's tough to eat crow.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hi, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, capitalism, that is increasingly under attack. But why is a free market system so important?
The simple answer, society is much better off because of free markets. Free markets allow individuals and business owners to freely choose what to consume, how to save, where to live and do business, what to produce, and how to protect our valuable resources, and so much more. And this can all happen without requiring heavy government interference. In a nutshell, free markets empower people to live their lives the way they choose. And this makes all our lives better.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
What happens next?
Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this.
Happens right here.
We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Okay, this may sound weird, but I think a lot of people are going to go, yep, that tracks. Getting arrested likely may have been the best thing that happened to Don Lemon in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely.
Because he went from a complete joke and irrelevant to being a complete joke, but the left is trying to make him relevant.
Right.
Again. So here's the thing is he's now back in the spotlight. And the funny part is when you see, like, he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show last night. And they're trying, this is their excuse to try to make their activist like the relevant journalist guy. And of course, Lemon's now trying. I think it seems to me, Susie, tell me what you think, is that he realizes, oh crap, I may have actually really stepped in it here, and he's really trying to like make his case to the public before he makes it in court.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He is completely trying to try his case in the court of public opinion so that everyone's on his side and looking at this purely as he's just a journalist. He's being, jailed as a journalist. Blah.
Yeah. And he was on Kimmel, and here's part of how that interview went.
And on January 18th, is that correct? You were covering a protest at a church in St. Paul, Minnesota, an anti-ICE protest. Apparently there's a pastor at the church who's also a local ICE official, which is, I think, just as Jesus would want. And I believe we have some B-roll. Protesters interrupted the Sunday service, and you followed them in. You interviewed various people in the church, and afterward, you were arrested. Now, first I want to ask you, is there a difference between whether those protesters had the right to go into a church and whether a credentialed journalist like yourself had the right to go in and cover them going into the church?
Well, listen, obviously I'm in the middle of this. I can't say a lot. There's a lot that I cannot say, but what I will say is that I'm not a protester. I went there to be a journalist. I went there to chronicle and document and record what was happening. I was following that one group around, and so that's what I did. I reported on them, and so, but I do think that there is a difference between a protester and a journalist.
Okay, so on one point, I'm going to say that he is right. There is a difference between a journalist and a protester, just strictly speaking.
In terms of function, yes.
Yes, in terms of that.
Not in terms of licensing.
Correct. And the other part of this is that journalists, and I was one for a long time, so many journalists have this, we're untouchable. I just have to declare I'm a journalist and I can do things other people aren't allowed to do.
Yeah, they don't get extra special First Amendment powers.
Correct. That does not absolve you of accountability when you break laws and break the rules. There is more leeway in a lot of situations, like for instance, undercover investigations and things like that. They're journalists. We've tended to give some leeway if there's actual journalism. And journalism, by the way, doesn't. There is biased journalism. Fox and Newsmax and CNN and MSN. Is it true journalism? Not by the
There's not a whole lot of unbiased journalism.
Yeah, there's really not. So when somebody goes, well, he's biased, so therefore he's not a journalist. Well, you can be a biased journalist.
Yeah, that's not the deciding.
It just means journalism isn't what it used to be.
Right.
That's for sure. But now he's trying to rebrand himself, basically saying, well, I was just there documenting. Now, the video evidence that he live streamed shows that he was part of it. And that's the thing where he's trying to make the case in the court of public opinion.
Not only that, but if you go and look at the charging document that describes his actions, he's in the group chat before they go there. He's bringing coffee to everybody.
Yep.
He's actually part of they're saying in this, don't say the place. Don't say the place. We're trying not to, we're trying to keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
He's part of that conversation. So to the point that we're talking about a conspiracy against rights, which is one of the charges against several of the other protesters, I mean, he was right in the middle of that. He wasn't just observing. He wasn't just a passive, person who was there. He was part of the conversation.
Right. And he was part of confronting the preacher, participating in the disruption of the church service, because the preacher, you see the video, him pointing to the door saying, you've got to leave.
Yes.
And they all refused. And Lemon is basically saying, well, that was them. That's not me. But he was in the guy's face and doing his pretend journalism stuff. Now, is Don Lemon a journalist? No, he's not a journalist. He's an activist, without a doubt. But activists can be lumped in under, journalism in general. Do I think that's enough? I think that just shows you how much the field of journalism has deteriorated. There's almost none of it actually left at this point.
Let me do a little flip test here.
Yeah.
Nick Shirley.
Yes.
Shows up to a mosque.
Mm-hmm.
And engages in the exact same behavior that Don Lemon did.
Right.
Only it's a group of Somalis. They're doing their Muslim worship service.
Mm-hmm.
What's the reaction?
The narrative is 180 degrees different than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, if he were there asking questions, not interrupting the service, but talking to people afterwards, asking for their take on things, you could say maybe he's being, kind of a little aggressive in the face or whatever. But, okay, that's being a journalist.
Absolutely.
That's asking the questions.
It can even be an obnoxious activist. You're still covered under the First Amendment.
Exactly. But that's not what Don Lemon did here. Now, is it going to be enough to actually make the charges against him stick? I don't know. I think it might be a close call. I mean, this is a federal case. It's going to be tried in front of a federal jury, which in Minnesota is going to draw from the entire state of Minnesota, the jury pool. It's not just going to be Minneapolis jurors or St. Paul.
And the FACE Act is very explicit in including houses of worship.
I got to go back and look. Is he charged with both FACE Act and conspiracy against rights, or just one?
I know for the FACE Act for sure. I don't know about the other.
I'm not sure about the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I've been seeing a lot of people pointing out the fact that churches are generally considered open to the public. Does that not change the fact?
No.
Nope. Okay,
no,
why not?
Not in the least bit. Because one, the pastor said, get out. And two, they were violating the rights of the parishioners to exercise their First Amendment rights.
Yeah, open to the public isn't the same thing as a public building. Like, for instance, the Capitol is owned by the government. It's owned by the people. A church isn't owned by the people. It's open because it wants to welcome people in, but it has the right people of the church to say, we would like you to leave now, please.
So would it be fair to say that just because something is open to the public does not make it a public space legally?
Correct.
Right, because they can reserve the right. I mean, you go to any store.
No shirt, no shoes, no service.
We reserve the right to refuse service to anybody. You
Right.
know, I mean, it's private property. And in this case, it wasn't even just that they were trespassing, is that they were doing so with the specific purpose of stopping a group of people from multiple angles of their First Amendment rights.
Yeah. You have a First Amendment right to watch the Super Bowl. Okay, wait, I don't really know if that translates. I was just trying to kind of lump it together. But if you are a Super Bowl watcher, you've got a choice of halftime shows. Let's compare the lineups at 7:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
I have to tell my kids that I'm a rock star now.
on News Talk STL.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Now we have some real class with the Mike Ferguson Show with Susie Moore, Red State, and don't forget Larry Connors, USA.
Thanks, Larry.
Are you guys watching the Super Bowl? That's this weekend. I haven't watched the Super Bowl in years. I don't even know who's playing. Who's playing in the Super Bowl? I don't even know.
Seahawks and Patriots.
Okay, all right, got it. Now I know.
I know Bad Bunny is going to be in
Well, that's kind of where we're going with this. Yeah, because, again, up until about 6 months ago, I didn't know what a Bad Bunny was, and now I do, and I don't think my life is enhanced because I know that.
Yeah.
So Turning Point USA is now, they're doing the
counter-programming.
The alternative halftime show.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which halftime show are you going to watch?
Well, okay.
And then also the NFL really pissed off like a lot of people by the pregame stuff. I think Green Day is on there. Of course, I mean they're another leftist band out there. I mean whatever,
So I'm in a quandary
Yeah.
because normally, well, first of all, I have like I don't want to overemphasize it, but I have bad memories of the last time the Seahawks and the Patriots played in the Super Bowl. I was stuck in a hotel room in Kansas City getting ready for a trial.
Oh, okay.
On my own. It was freezing out. There was a blizzard going on outside, and I was left with vending machine food. And it was just not a very pleasant experience. So just the idea of those two teams, like I couldn't care less.
Right.
Now, that wouldn't necessarily keep me from enjoying a Super Bowl party because I have friends that always put one on every year, and it's always a good time. The problem is I have to work all day Sunday. I am the editor on duty all day on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be stuck at home, which means I'm probably not going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch Hallmark. But I might tune in for the halftime, depending on who TPUSA is programming. I couldn't care less about Bad Bunny.
Right. Okay. So they're calling it the All-American Halftime Show. And, well, to nobody's surprise, Kid Rock is going to be the main guy. Yeah.
Yep.
So he's going to be the one. And then the other singers, and I gotta confess, I have no idea who these people are, but I guess they're big stars. Lee Bryce.
That sounds like a country star, maybe.
Brantley Gilbert.
Definitely a country star.
Okay, Gabby Barrett.
Don't-
I don't know who these people
Don't know.
are.
I'm
I
stuck
have
with
no
ball with the
idea.
ball, da bang, da bang, diggy,
Right.
diggy.
That's right.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably watching Hallmark.
Yeah.
Sorry, TPUSA. I'm probably watching neither.
Yeah, I mean, and now I'm questioning the NFL's judgment here. I mean, because the smartest thing they could do is find anybody from any genre who just doesn't stick their foot in their mouth and get involved in all the political stuff. That's all you got to do.
It's not the NFL's way.
I know. That was just dumb. And so, I mean, there were years where people would tune into the halftime show if they weren't interested in the game. And now you got people like, okay, we're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
For the halftime
There's
show.
Puppy Bowl.
I was going to say the Puppy Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some of the ads, that's the other
You've
thing.
never heard, you know what the Puppy Bowl is?
I've never heard of the Puppy Bowl.
Okay, so this has been going on for
Long time.
25 years, 30
Yeah.
years. And was it Animal Planet? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was, and so what they would do is when the halftime show, if you didn't want to watch the halftime show, and this is before stuff got all stupid political, they literally just had a series of cameras around a big pen of puppies. I think they like painted it like a football field, and they
Yeah.
just ran around and wrestled with each other, knocked each, and just puppies playing for 20 minutes, and people watched it.
Absolutely.
That sounds like such a better use of time than
Yeah.
whatever Super Bowl halftime show they're going to be doing this year.
100%. Now, then that you have the question of the ads.
Mhm.
Because the ads sometimes are worth seeing. And I've seen two so far, previews of them, that both were like dead on.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but with social media, the ones worth watching are going to go viral online anyway.
Correct.
So you don't even have to watch for the
I
ads.
know.
Just wait for somebody else to post.
I
a
know.
good one.
Used to matter that you had
And-
actually had to watch.
And they tend to be released early, too.
Yeah.
Because,
So-
I mean, you spend millions of dollars for that 30 or 60 seconds.
Mhm.
And, at this point, that used to be the big thing because you didn't know what the commercials were until the Super Bowl, which is one of the reasons they kept the Super Bowl ratings up so high. Now, Super Bowl is going to be the most popular sports event of the year every year.
Sure.
In the United States. It's more popular,
Yeah.
than any other sport. It's more popular than the NBA Finals, more popular than the World Series.
It's
Definitely
a
more
big
popular.
event.
Yeah. So it's going to be a huge event. But if the ratings dip, one, we may or may not get accurate reporting on that from the media itself. But two, with Turning Point USA, this is going to be not only streamed, but several cable channels are going to be going to the alternative halftime show.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, basically they're making it available to any conservative cable outlet that wants to carry it, and many of them are.
Yeah, and I think it's smart to do the counter programming because there's going to be, a lot of people who are going to either, first of all, they're not going to want to watch the Super Bowl to begin with because they're
I'm not.
soured on the NFL.
That's me.
But at minimum, they're going to be like, I'm not interested in this halftime show. So what else has got, what's out there?
And there have been some good halftime shows.
There have been some great halftime
Bruno
shows.
Mars was phenomenal.
Yes.
That was several years ago. And then there was The Who. They had a really great show. That's probably 10 or 15 years ago that they were on there.
Easily, yeah.
Prince was
amazing.
So it's been a long time since, somebody's like, I really got to see that. But, I'm like, they're marketing to a younger audience to try to, that's what they're doing with this guy.
But who is the target demo for the NFL anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Urban youth.
Because they're so woke, though.
Urban youth.
Okay.
I mean, that's really who it is. With all this, they're trying to draw in the people that are susceptible to pop, culture, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, rock and roll, metal, country, that's not really the pop culture anymore. Country's still a very popular genre, and it still sells. But if you look at the population densities of people and the viewing records, football is probably much more popular with people that are around my age that want something where they can feel like they're being represented and heard, and where in areas where people like Jelly Roll are going to be popular, Kendrick Lamar. I mean, I actually didn't mind Kendrick Lamar's performance, but because of the behind the scenes, what was going on between him and Drake, and I don't listen to either one of their music, but the fact of the matter is I think that we don't attribute pop music and all this sort of things with, new age pop music. You wouldn't want to see the Backstreet Boys at the Super Bowl, but I
wouldn't want to see the Backstreet Boys anywhere.
But the people that are going to be tuning in and buying the merchandise and playing, the video games and doing all of that are going to be the people that probably listen to that music to begin with.
I guess. It will be interesting to see, what kind of draw it has. I don't know. I'm getting to that, get off my lawn stage of my life. So I guess the culture's passing me by.
Yeah, it just seems like the NFL's chose to pick a fight.
Yes.
That's just what it seems like. And because I know Bad Bunny, what a stupid name.
I thought it was a girl. It's a guy.
It turns out it's And he's been real vocal on the ICE and deportations and illegal immigration. He's on the wrong side of all that stuff. It just seems to me that for the market that you're talking about, there have to be all kinds of performers that would appeal to that. So why that guy?
Well, so
isn't he the one who did I read right? He's the one who wears dresses and does the gender bending type stuff.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm not sure if that's just to be provocative or if that's legitimate.
And that's nothing new. The '80s hair bands I listened to did that 40 years ago.
Not even remotely new.
You guys remember Marilyn Manson? That was his whole shit too. But no, I would argue that the Super Bowl halftime show has become more of an award for the performers that are selling the most or the most culturally relevant, and then they pick these people because you might be a traditional I love football guy, but your kid might not care about football, but they might like the artist that's being picked, and that's the way to get both generations to keep their eyes glued to the TV. That's my hypothesis.
Well, yeah. My eyeballs are probably not going to be on the Super Bowl.
I have no plans whatsoever to watch
I really do want to plug
all.
the Budweiser ad and the Xfinity ad. They're out there now. I tweeted the Xfinity ad earlier this morning. Go check them out. They're both very, very good.
I'm going to be watching the Puppy Bowl if they have one.
I'm pretty sure it happens again. Yeah, it's like, I respect what Turning Point USA is doing, but I'm like, I have no, I don't know who, I know who Kid Rock is. I have no idea who the other people are.
I think that's supposed to appeal also to the younger set, just the younger, more conservative set, which
Sure,
there are plenty
which
of
is
people
great.
out there
that's
that
great.
fall into that category as
and
well.
that's what they're doing with the All-American halftime show.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, whatever.
I've got Dr. Michael Lewis here, West Point graduate, physician, and retired Army colonel, is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s for traumatic brain injury and concussions. Stuart Tomp brings over 30 years of experience in the supplement industry, brought $1 billion of products to the market, and has appeared in over 6,000 media interviews worldwide, and travels internationally and teaches on health.
Stuart Tomk here, and I've come across the biggest breakthrough in personalized nutrition I've seen in 25 years.
Dr. Lewis here. You know, for the first time, we can measure cellular and gut health. So you can start testing and stop guessing and make decisions based on real data. I'm working with world-class scientists and physicians, and what they're doing is changing everything.
You can message me at elizabeth@statmedicalllc.com. That is Elizabeth at statmedicalllc.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Very active, very fun chat box. Cinderfer.
Hi, Cinderfer.
Hey, how you doing? She says, yo, Vic, baby. Verbatim, yo, Vic, baby. With an exclamation point. How else are you supposed to read that? I was driving, had to pull over to comment. I was going to say how sexy the beard is, but I'm afraid of your wife.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I would be.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
The left, for months now,
One by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree
We have to assume some responsibility, because I'm a black man.
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
you're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amrit Thomason. Every Homeland Security officer on the ground, including ICE agents, are being issued body cameras. Homeland Security Secretary Noem says it starts in Minneapolis and will eventually go nationwide. President Trump says it's fine with him.
They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if he wants to do that, I'm okay with it.
The president insists that he will not drop the Justice Department's investigation of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell.
Even though 2 Republican senators say they won't support the president's Fed pick unless the criminal investigation into Powell is resolved, the president said there are no plans to back off the probe. He said the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia will take the investigation to the end. Powell was subpoenaed in relation to his congressional testimony last June, but he contends the probe amounts to intimidation over interest rate policy. Greg Clugston, Washington.
China's predatory trade practices starting to ruffle some feathers in Latin America, whose markets are being flooded with low-priced imports, especially autos and e-commerce goods.
The surge in imports is a significant challenge for local manufacturers, and some countries are fighting back to protect their own industries. Chinese e-commerce platforms like Temu are rapidly expanding sales in the region, offering cheaper alternatives to local products. Chinese car brands are also making inroads, especially in Brazil and Mexico. Bob Agnew reporting.
Disney's going to be getting a new CEO. Josh D'Amaro succeeds Bob Iger. D'Amaro currently leads the company's parks and resorts division. President Trump says India agrees to stop buying Russian oil as part of a new trade and tariffs deal with the U.S. Wall Street head of the opening bell. Dow futures 6 points higher. NASDAQ futures are up 141. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Progressive knows RV owners like to travel at a nice, relaxing pace. Just like this commercial. They're not rushing to a departure gate at the airport because they depart from their driveway. And they can relax even more knowing they're protected by Progressive. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. We make the amazing Solaire infrared gas grills that are built to last and will consistently deliver better than restaurant grilled food. The Solaire infrared burner heats up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes, even in the dead of winter. The high heat locks in the juices and flavor and grills food faster. Learn more about these fantastic USA-made grills at BestHotGrill.com. Solaire. Hot, fast grills at besthotgrill.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, to even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon. Then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time. Make this free call now and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Illinois' leadership,
if you could call it that,
such as it is, yeah, they just keep pushing the state away from the common sense and and I'm using these words carefully, a more pro-criminal direction that it seems. And this is how wild the ideology has taken hold.
I personally know two people I grew up with that committed horrible acts that were released without bail on the streets because of the Safety Act while they were at trial, and it's disgusting and despicable.
Yeah, oh my goodness. All right, we talked to Shannon Adcock from our friends at Awake, Illinois. Was it a week ago or so? A week or two ago we talked to, and so she really recommended retired police chief Thomas Weitzel, who joins us right now. And, of course, having been at the top of a police department here, and, Thomas, I think we may need to give you a phone call. We've got that feedback that's coming in right now because through the speaker there. So let's get him on the phone real quick, and let's do it that way so we don't have that going on. Because obviously having the experience not just of a law enforcement officer, but obviously as a police chief as well, you're the one in charge of enforcing the laws. And if you've got state leaders who are playing politics with it, it makes it that much harder to actually protect and serve the people of your community here as well. And by the way, we've got him on the line here as well. So we're getting punched through and all right, there we go. All right. So, all right, Chief, thanks so much for joining us here. Let me start with that right here. You've got an actual piece of legislation filed. We talked about this a little bit before, but the Democrats seem to be very, very serious about this. They want to preemptively ban anybody who had been specifically an ICE officer from ever being allowed to be licensed to become law enforcement in the state of Illinois. That just seems insane to me. But from a law enforcement perspective, when you take out the politics of it, what is this actually saying to the men and women of law enforcement, and what could this potentially mean to public safety in Illinois?
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me. And you're absolutely right. First of all, I'll just state that it is absolutely unconstitutional. Yeah. You're picking a whole class of individuals, this be federal law enforcement, and saying you cannot be police officers, local police, whether that be state, county, local police, it could be college and universities law enforcement agencies in Illinois. You cannot work in Illinois. And if you notice, the bill says during the Trump administration. So it says so they're targeting Trump here. You understand that that's what they're doing. So it's already brutal to recruit and retain officers, and sometimes we overlook the retain. I just read a report that there were over 600 police officers in the state of Illinois over the last 4 years that have left Illinois for other states, and the two top states they're leaving for are Texas and California.
I'm a little surprised about California, but Texas makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the third state that's running in there is Florida. But I was surprised by California as well, but that's what the numbers are showing thus far. But they are leaving Illinois, and these are officers that have 5, 6, 7, 8 years on the job, and they're saying, forget it. We're not getting any political support. The media is just slamming us every time we turn around, and they're passing legislation to keep us from doing our job. And this bill in Illinois is taking a whole class of law enforcement professionals and keeping them from being law enforcement officers in Illinois. And remember, they are law enforcement, because there's this narrative going around that the Democrats want to put out that ICE agents are not police. They're federal law enforcement with full arrest powers.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, we hear about the thin blue line and the sort of brotherhood and sisterhood that is the law enforcement community itself. Does law enforcement differentiate, just like within your industry, within that culture? Does it separate out, okay, well, that's local law enforcement, well, that's state police, well, that's federal, or do they just look at law enforcement as they're part of the brotherhood and the sisterhood? So if the answer is that they look at law enforcement as one of them, what's the message they're getting when Governor Pritzker and the Democrats are trying to target certain law enforcement like this?
The message is you don't support us and you don't want to support us, and they don't really separate out. Obviously, there's difference between maybe local law enforcement, state, and county. They all operate in Illinois by the same standards, the same training standards, the same educational standards, all the way, police academy. So you're wiping the slate of everybody. And when the governor and his staff and other political leaders here in Illinois, especially the Democrat leadership, constantly are berating law enforcement, and the new thing to do is to pass legislation or propose legislation that prevents you from doing their job. And there is already legislation that's been passed, and now there's proposed legislation, such as this Senate bill that's being proposed here in Illinois to keep ICE agents from being law enforcement. And I don't know why they'd want to waste their money, because I think everyone listening to this program, no matter what you think of law enforcement, pro, con, or otherwise, it is unconstitutional.
React to this statement, because obviously this is a little more federal, but I think it goes along with what we're saying. Here's something that Chuck Schumer said on the floor of the U.S. Senate just yesterday. Jerome, am I up on the board there by any chance? Okay, great. Here's something that he said. React to this for me.
This idea that Johnson has, that ICE people should be able to wear masks. Police officers don't wear masks all across the country. And if anyone needs to be identified, it's these abusive thugs.
Abusive thugs, Tom.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Just look at that rhetoric. So abusive thugs, a national platform. You don't think people are listening to that? You don't think activist journalists see that this Democratic leader is calling out law enforcement as thugs? That's disgusting. Can you imagine if a police leader, a chief, a superintendent, whatever your title is, you stood up at a news conference and called names to these national public leaders that are supposed to support policing? You'd be removed from your job as chief.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. And, of course, when you look at the whole attempt in Illinois, and I would say the mayor of Chicago is basically in tandem holding hands with Governor J.B. Pritzker, and you actually tweeted about this, I guess it was early this morning or late last night. The state's attorney now is looking at the legality of an order issued by Mayor Johnson in Chicago, because he's trying, obviously, to limit ICE's ability to enforce federal laws in the city and in the state. What's your take on that? I mean, I guess it's good the state's attorney is even looking at it, but do we have any confidence that the state's attorney is actually going to pursue anything?
I do have confidence that this new state's attorney who replaced the worst state's attorney in Cook County history, which was Kim Fox. She'll look at it from the legal perspective, and it's not enforceable. And this is just Johnson trying to get himself on a national platform and get his anti-ICE information out. They already have ICE-free zones in Chicago. They already have, you're supposed to document every time you see ICE, the police officers. They have portals where citizens can track ICE, send them to newspapers or government-sponsored websites where the ICE agents are. You can upload photos. You can upload videos. I mean, that's tracking police. I've never seen that in the history of my entire career in law enforcement. But now that's being allowed. So this latest order that Johnson put out to the superintendent, who, if you noticed, has not commented on it yet, that he lied. Let's call it what it is. The Johnson administration said in their news release that they had already checked with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and they reviewed his order, and it was legal. And now he's had to walk that back and say, oh, no, what? We didn't do that. We're resubmitting it to the State's Attorney's Office for review. If that's just an outright lie, I don't even know why he must have the stupidest staff ever. Why would you put out a press release so that you could easily be checked by the news media? They called the state's attorney. Did you review this? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. When you look at so much of the state, I mean, I grew up, for instance, in central Illinois, Tom, and, there are definitely blue pockets there, Decatur and some other areas, but a lot of the state is red. So this is not reflective of what a lot of Illinoisans think and want, but it's consistent all the way down from the Pritzker administration and the fringe folks on the left. I mean, for instance, you go to the Safety Act, which we mentioned a little bit earlier today. I mean, what you're talking about there is one that law enforcement warned against, prosecutors warned against, you have warned against as well. What are the results that we're seeing from that being fully implemented now in 2026?
We're seeing chaos. We're seeing lawlessness. And I was opposed to that from day one. The legislature here in Illinois, for the first time ever, did not seek police input on this legislation. I was still the chief. They passed it at 5 a.m. It's over 700 pages long. And many state legislators went on record saying they did not read the whole bill when they signed it. And now it has these pieces in there that eliminated bond court. They now have a thing called first appearance court. Eliminated putting warrants out for people's arrest right away when they skip court. If you can imagine this, your listeners, you get postcards in the mail from Illinois communities when you go to court and you miss court. The judges put out a postcard to send to your house to say, hey, you missed court 2-3 times before you'll get a warrant. But during that period of time, they continue to commit crimes. Why they're sending these stupid postcards out that don't even get delivered because defendants rarely give their actual address of where they live. So there isn't a single part of that legislation for law enforcement and the bond courts that's positive. That doesn't mean, there was some good legislation written in there. The body cameras is good. The training they were giving police officers are good, but they didn't consult the chiefs or unions in Illinois because they knew they wouldn't support it.
Yeah, we're visiting with retired police chief Thomas Weitzel. And, okay, I just got a minute or so left here. So then what's next in Illinois? I mean, obviously the left has the essentially monopoly on all state government. But what can be done to try to claw back some of this absolute nonsense? Because what you've got here is virtue signaling and ideology that is become clearly more important than actual public safety and constitutional rights. I mean, we've seen that with the Second Amendment stuff in Illinois. But when people are listening and saying, I feel helpless, Democrats are just kind of running wild with this police ideology stuff and so focused on Donald Trump that Illinoisans are being left behind. What are some of the things that could reasonably get done to reform and bring things in the right direction?
Yeah, so, I was recently appointed a fellow for Wake, Illinois, a law enforcement fellow. We're going to be working on legislation, pro-police legislation, to grassroots. So people can go to the Wake, Illinois website and you can sign up. We're actually going to be proposing legislation that's positive. The other thing that chiefs and sheriffs and superintendents need to do is stand up. Because they know this is wrong, but they're being told by their political structure, you know what, if you like your job, you shut your mouth. You don't come out against this legislation, or we'll remove you and replace you. It's time for law enforcement leadership to stand up. I know it's a little easier for me right now because I'm retired, so you know what? They can't fire me. So I could speak the truth, and I could give the data, but we have to have current leadership. Where we're seeing more leadership, though, is with the sheriffs, and you know why that is because they're elected. So the politicians can't remove the sheriff. Only the citizens can remove the sheriff. So the sheriffs right now are speaking up against these ridiculous legislation and the Safety Act, but we need police chiefs throughout the state to say enough's enough.
All right, Chief, people want to follow the work that you're doing. Where's the best way to do that, either social media or just around the web?
Yeah, so I'm on X at Chief Weitzel, at Chief Weitzel on X, and I'm also on TikTok, and I'm out there just to get my message out. So if you Google me, you can certainly find a social media platform to follow me on.
And obviously Awake Illinois as well.
Yeah, Awake Illinois, Substack. Awake Illinois, we are really, for the first time ever, we're going to take an approach where we're going to do these grassroots law enforcement issues. So I think people should get involved.
All right, Tom, great shot. Thanks so much, Chief. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, just ahead here, the Cardinals trade away one of their everyday starters from this past season and a local former basketball coach, local area high school basketball coach. He's behind bars. We'll tell you why in the news dump right around 8:21.
Inspiration, you have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
He picked the wrong schoolyard to come into, I have to tell you this.
On News Talk STL.
It's time for Country Mart's massive meat sale. Thursday and Friday, February 5th and 6th. A sale so big, we could only call it a massive meat sale. Ground chuck, $3.99 a pound. Boneless strips, $8.99 a pound. Pork butts, $1.59 a pound. Boneless beef top sirloin, $6.99 a pound. Bottom round flats, $5.99 a pound. See all items on our Facebook page, St. Clair Country Mart, Plaza Drive in St. Clair. Hurry while supplies last. Sorry, no rain checks.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Whistle Pig Outdoors, Alamo Military Collectibles and Custom Foam, and Lee May Concrete Block. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, like I said, a former high school basketball coach here in the area is now in jail.
Wow.
And this one's gross. Also, big talk again from the Trump administration over the Epstein stuff. Big talk.
Big talk.
A lot of big talk.
A lot of talk.
But we're going to dump all the files in the form of, which, by the way, the law said was supposed to have been, released months ago.
Well, on the bright side, besides the fact of not formatting a lot of it correctly and all the other issues, at least you can go to justice.gov/Epstein and keyword search some of the files if you're interested in what's in there.
All right, and the Cardinals trade away one of their starters from last season.
Oh.
Yeah, one of the up-and-coming guys. All right, 8:22 right now. Let's do one more news dump here.
The The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, a former MICDS high school basketball coach admits to sending explicit photos of himself to some students, and this dates back to 2024. Prosecutors also say 29-year-old Lee Bogan used social media to start sexual conversations with at least 2 girls. Those girls, though, instead reported him, and they saved the evidence, and that led to his arrest. On Monday, Bogan pled guilty to 1 count of attempting to receive child pornography. He will be sentenced in May. He faces up to 20 years in prison. There is a plea deal that's being offered that looks like he would spend 90 months in prison, so 7.5 years or so on there as well. So good on the girls, and I don't know what their ages are. I get the impression they were high school girls, but good on them for saving a screenshot and then turning around and reporting it, because the press release from the prosecutors and the news articles on this indicate that he was trying to gauge whether or not any of these minors, any of these children, would be interested in getting into a physical relationship with him. And he's now going to jail where he may end up with a physical relationship he doesn't want.
I don't want to laugh at the situation, but yes,
Yeah.
I mean, it is very unfortunate that there seems to be a repeat pattern within people within public education and other.
Well, this is
positions.
private. This one's private.
Well, then
Yeah.
educate
Right.
teachers, coaches, stuff of that nature. I mean, there seems to be a repeat pattern, and so definitely props to them for actually having the foresight to screenshot it, because it could be the case that there are many people that he tried this on that also just ignored it, played it off. This is why it's so important to have these discussions with your kids, with the people you tutor, the people you babysit, on how to handle these situations to make sure that they're okay and they know what to do.
And I don't know how many minors he was contacting, but at least 2 of the girls turned him in. So again, whoever those girls are, good on you. We have no idea how many other young people you actually protected and saved just by doing that.
Yes. Thank you so much for actually sticking up and doing something about this.
All right, Department of Justice releasing more Epstein files on Friday, millions of pages. As, of course, now, as a side note, Bill and Hillary Clinton are going to testify before the House Oversight Committee. At least they say they're going to. They're wanting to set some parameters on it, so we'll see whether that actually happens or not.
I would like to issue a drinking game where every time they plead the 5th, but then I'm afraid that you're going to be passed out.
You'll be dead. Yeah. All right. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche was on the Ingram Angle on Fox, and he's pointing out that just because a name appears in documents, it does not necessarily mean that they committed a crime.
It is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will.
Well, I know he's saying we better believe that you will. I am not confident, and I don't better believe it, because I'll believe it when I see it, because as it's been pointed out, the feds have had this stuff for years, and we have a big lack of people who abused children, lack of those people being in jail.
I mean, I'm looking at the highlighted DOJ memo regarding this. I actually, people might forget, but this is what stirred off the entire demand for the release to begin with. And they said that based on the files that they had at the time, which were, I guess, no longer a hoax now, that they didn't find any grounds to go after anybody. It was just Ghislaine and just Jeffrey. But I was thinking about this. I had the clip saved somewhere, but Todd also had said that they have materials that they're not going to release that include death, that include abuse of minors, that include a lot of different things. So yes, based on what we are given, we can't make immediate judgments of who's involved. But at this point, how do you not have enough things to at least say, look, everybody that's been prosecuted, we've already prosecuted, or hey, we still need to go and do another investigation?
Yeah. All right, body-worn cameras are now being issued to every Homeland Security officer, particularly in Minnesota, including those from ICE.
The announcement came from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem as the administration tries to alleviate tensions in Minneapolis after the fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens by federal agents. Noem said the body-worn camera program is being expanded nationwide as funding becomes available. At the White House, President Trump said the decision was up to the secretary, but said that he thought it was generally good for law enforcement to wear cameras. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Yeah, and I think he's right about that. You know, I mean, it's funny because when body cameras first came out, there were a lot of police officers that were a little hesitant on it. And then very, very, very quickly, they went, we want body cameras.
Yes.
Almost all the time. Not always, but almost all the time. It shows that the officer was doing the right thing. It's also shown officers doing the wrong thing from here or there, but that's the whole point of it. And so I like that idea because, we would get a much more up close look at this. And honestly, there are times where that's a disincentive for somebody to go after the cop. Like, not so much that they're worried about the cop because they would like to hurt the cop, but they're like, oh, there's a camera that's going to prove that I did it.
Yeah, I've seen the articles where they come out before the body cam's released, and you're like, wow, that's despicable. The police officer did that. Then you see the body cam footage, you're like,
right.
Oh,
that's
that
not
person,
what happened. Yep.
person should not have done that. So I
Yeah.
agree entirely. I think that that's great for accountability for both law
For
enforcement.
both,
For both sides, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, got a few sports things. Brendan Donovan not going to be back as a Cardinal this year.
Oh.
Yeah, he's early on in what's looks like a very promising career. He's been traded to the Mariners as part of a 3-way trade that includes the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So ESPN is reporting that the Cardinals are getting 3 kind of up-and-coming prospect players, and they're going to get some draft picks as part of that trade. The Billikens, 19th ranked in the country. They have cracked the top 20.
Way to go.
Yeah, they are going to be on the road tonight. They're going to be in North Carolina to take on Davidson College. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock our time, and the game is going to be on the CBS Sports Network if you happen to subscribe to that. SLU is 21-1 on the season.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
And other than that one game a little bit ago, not Dayton, they blew them out by 30 points, but the one before that where it was like a 3-point game, all of these Division I, but kind of mid-tier, they're winning by 20 or 30 points on some of these. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens when they run into the big boys because they're proving they got the talent. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when that kind of pressure's on.
Well, keep it up.
Yep. The Blues lost on the road again, coming up 1 goal short against the Predators. Now, despite the Blues having a 5-3 lead after 2 periods, final score in Nashville was 6-5. They gave up 3 in the 3rd period. Up next is another road game on Wednesday. They're going to be in Dallas to play the Stars.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We're going to be tracking the possibility of AM mix. That's right, we could see some light snow, to even the possibility of some light freezing rain. Most of the area going to be looking dry. That pushes out by about midday. Temperatures back towards mid-30s this afternoon. Then into Wednesday, 30 degrees, partly sunny. Will warm up as we approach the upcoming weekend. Eventually, temperatures going to be back towards the mid-40s by Friday and back towards the lower 40s Saturday and Sunday, with more chances of rain next week. The First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist James Scott.
Fox News commentary with Jimmy Fallon next.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's Jimmy Fallon on the anti-Trump Grammys.
Hollywood is so liberal, they wanted to defund the comp in the Village people. So if you're bashing Trump at an award show, it's like bashing sobriety at Mardi Gras. There's not exactly a lot of it to go around. So I'm blown away, first and foremost, that all of these people thought we needed to hear this. It's crazy because it's the music industry, but they're all tone deaf. Nobody wants a speech about inequality from a woman who's wearing a dress that cost more than their house. Okay, and the fact that they all put a cute anti-ice pin on there sounds great. Look at them, they're standing up to us. They don't care. Okay, this week's anti-ice pin was the last year's Free Palestine pin, which was the year before's I Stand With Ukraine pin.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
It all comes down to this, folks. Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain. Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast! Speaking of fast, did you just see that play? Yeah, he vaporized that ball. That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com. No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Okay, there's a lot at stake in these midterm elections.
Yes.
However, there's one of the key foundations of the conservative freedom Republican movement. They're not threatening. They're just saying we may sit this one out, guys. And I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, don't you dare. If you don't get involved and you don't turn out your constituents, your supporters to the polls, then the Democrats could win. And right now, the Second Amendment groups are going, what's that going to change? So one of the weak spots of the Trump administration has with actual conservatives, with actual constitutionalists, because not everything on the right is that. You know, MAGA is not a particularly conservative movement. There are conservative elements of it. There's a lot of there's some overlap, but it's its own thing. It's its own bucket of the right. But that Achilles heel that the Trump administration has is the Second Amendment.
Yes,
they've just not been good on the Second Amendment. There was a lot of questions when Pam Bondi was not. When her name came up. I mean, I was among those who go, I don't like this pick. She's got a really, really bad record in Florida on the Second Amendment. And there's a lot of lip service to the Second Amendment. But we've now got a pattern of the president of Kash Patel, now Jeanine Pirro, saying blatantly anti-Second Amendment stuff. Now, Kash Patel's tried to back that up a little bit. I don't know that President Trump really feels the need to. But Jeanine Pirro was being interviewed by Shannon Bream on Fox yesterday, and they were talking about the Preddy case, but also, the violence in Washington, D.C., because she's the U.S. attorney over the District of Columbia. And here's what she said that raised a lot of eyebrows. And there were a lot of reports about a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives, even a lot of MAGA supporters really not happy with what Jeanine Pirro said.
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
Okay, that's not somebody who values your freedom. That's not somebody who values the Constitution. That's not somebody who values the Bill of Rights. That's not somebody who values the Second Amendment. That's not somebody who should be in this job. Go back to being a celebrity TV judge and do the reality shtick, okay? Jeanine Pirro, in my opinion, disqualified herself from serving as a U.S. attorney. She should not be in that job. She should be fired, but she won't.
I absolutely agree. I wish she was in a position to where she was going to be up for election and primary so she could lose. I mean, this is okay. And I'm not.
And there's the technical side to where,
we looked into
Washington,
it.
D.C. has law, but that is not what the Second Amendment means and says.
And I don't like to say I would compromise, but if the statement was, look, in D.C., here's what our laws are, and if you show up and you are from a constitutional carry state where you have no license, we don't know who you are, and you have your firearm on you, then you're going to be taken to jail. I can understand that because a lot of our states are infringing on the Second Amendment.
Yeah. I mean, like Missouri's a constitutional carry state.
Yeah, you can buy a gun, and then you can walk around, conceal carry the gun.
Yeah.
That's just the
Yeah,
law.
you can still get a CCW.
You can, and it's
You know-
encouraged. There's a lot of really good reasons because, you can't, for example, be on school grounds with a firearm. That's federally illegal. But if you have a concealed carry, then oftentimes that it's complicated. But talk to a firearms trainer about that. But the point being is, if it had been something where, hey, we're making a statement to deter people from doing straw purchases, or we're deterring people from doing gun trafficking or something, still not great, but I would understand. This is a clear case of even if you are a law-abiding, licensed individual who we know for certain has a valid license, and maybe you made a mistake and whatever, that's completely different. This person does not care remotely about good law-abiding gun owners or the Second Amendment.
Right. So now let's go back to where we started with the Second Amendment groups. Gun Owners of America, National Association for Gun Rights, our friends at American Firearms Association, NRA, all of these different groups. They made it very clear that they're not only angry about this, but the pattern. You go back to what Kash Patel said. You can't have a gun at a protest. Yes, you can. The president said you can't have the guns there. Yes, you can.
And furthermore, not just us as Missourians with constitutional carry, Alex Pretty legally had his firearm in a place that was not prohibited from him to have it. He had a valid permit to carry on him. So they were factually wrong about Alex Pretty having a gun on him in that instance.
Now, that doesn't change that what he did
was stupid.
And when he, basically attacked law enforcement, that was illegal. So those are, his actions were illegal. The fact that he had a gun on him was not.
And that's important.
It's an important distinction. I'm not trying to defend Alex Pretty. He put himself in that situation. Now, I still am withholding my judgment on the shooting itself until we get more information. I don't know whether that would be considered justified, legally defensible or not. I want to get the rest of the details on that. But now let's go to the Second Amendment groups, because let me make this really clear. On a national scale, Republicans cannot win without Second Amendment supporters. It's not just that they do endorsements, it's that they drive people to the polls. If you are passionate about the Second Amendment, you pay attention when these groups, and everybody has their favorites, some compromise more than others, NRA, but they pay attention and they say, we've got to get out and win this race. Now, none of these groups are saying we're going to go support the Democrats. But what they're saying is, why are we going to spend millions of dollars? Why are we going to put our staff to work doing mailings and phone calls? Why are we going to, make sure that we're pushing Republican candidates when you're not delivering any support for the Second Amendment, or very, very little support? And you have high-ranking members of your administration saying anti-Second Amendment things. So if you're one of those who says, but they can't sit it out because then the Democrats will win, I get your logic. But I also understand where these groups are coming from, and they're not even threatening. They're just saying, you haven't done anything for us. Why would we do anything for you? If you want our support, then be advocates for the Second Amendment and deliver on what you said you're going to do. It's that simple. It's not about Republican versus Democrat. It's that we got you there. We expect you to uphold your constitutional duty.
Absolutely. And it's stuff like this for the reason why they're losing the millennials and the Gen Z who are saying, and it goes back the movie Dark Knight, with the first Batman trilogy movie, where he's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. That's the attitude that we're seeing from a lot of people. There's a reason why all the polls show that the youth are actually shifting further to the right, but they're not showing up to register as Republicans. Actually, the largest group of new voter registrations is going to independents.
Yeah.
Because what have you given any of us to think that we are going to be better off supporting you? And so a lot of people are saying, you know what, I'm not going to vote for Democrats because they're just too far gone. They're too crazy. But good luck to you. With all the rhetoric, I mean, even President Trump saying if you believe in the Epstein hoax, then you're a dumb Republican, and I don't need your support anyways. Well, cool. Then if you don't need my support, good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, what else? You're not entitled to my vote.
Right. And in this, I mean, I'm never going to vote for a Democrat, but Republicans have to earn my vote.
Yeah, I put more stock in and hold my side to a higher level of responsibility. Yeah. If you think about like sports teams, whenever your opponents are losing, it's like, okay, they're bad, whatever. But when your team's making bad decisions, and you're like, come on, it's hard to root for you. Maybe I won't watch the game because I know you guys are being stupid, right? That is pretty much how a lot of people are viewing this right now. And now you have somebody where the Second Amendment's actually becoming more popular with younger individuals. And now you're saying, look, not only are we factually incorrect in the statements we're making regarding where you can have a gun, if you can have a gun, but on top of that, now an AG is specifically saying, I don't even care if you were licensed to have a firearm and you're legally law-abiding, and maybe it is a fact you got lost in your GPS, now you're on the wrong side of the district of D.C., we're still going to throw you in jail, and you're lucky if you even get the gun back. I mean, why would I ever want to support anybody that has that on their team?
What the administration is going to need to do here is, what I think they're going to do here, what they need to do is fire her. But what I think they're going to do is just say, you know what, don't address it, it'll go away. And I think that's the playbook. There may be some soft pedaling, but the more that this happens, because there's a pattern, Kash Patel, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, President Trump, Jeanine Pirro,
Steve Miller.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started on Steve Miller. Yeah, there's a pattern here on this particular issue that at this point, it would be unreasonable for Republicans at the national level to expect and demand that the Second Amendment advocates show up this year. Now, you vote in your local congressional elections and your senatorial elections and your race for governor and all that sort of thing. And I would suspect most of them would probably lean Republican. But off your elections, that's when these Second Amendment groups are so critical because they're the ones who drive those people who otherwise may not show up to show up. And why would you spend millions or tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to support the party that left you stranded and assumes they're entitled to your work and your monetary contributions and everything else? I get where the gun groups are coming from. So the bottom line is Republicans have a short window of time to really start delivering on Second Amendment stuff. Otherwise, get ready to start talking about Speaker Jeffries, Speaker Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, the internet's not the end-all, be-all, but the 2A communities online are extremely mobile. They're extremely active. I mean, there's a YouTuber that I personally enjoy who almost won a spot in Florida, lost by very little with a lot less just because he was so well-known within the community. The people were showing up to go and vote against his opponent. Now, again, he lost, but compared to the money that was spent and the amount of experience he had, very close race. That is a group you really do not want not showing up to back you. And there are only so many more groups you have. Again, people are now, they're still mad about the way President Trump's trying to primary Massey. So the people that are leaning more towards that way are not going to be showing up. So really
And Massey's going to win.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. If you think he's going to lose, I mean, I'll sell you beachfront property in the desert.
Rand Paul's going to win. Thomas Massey's going to win.
But the point is that the attacks keep going. And it's like, wait a sec, we thought we were all on the same team here, but now you're attacking people like me. Why would I then defend you? I mean, yes, the left is crazy, but it's almost easier to say I'm just not going to comply with the left than it is to say I'm going to support somebody that's not going to have my back when they're supposed to.
Right. And if you don't want that to happen, then they need to deliver. Listen, like I said, there's a lot of stuff Republicans are getting right now. There's a lot of stuff the Trump administration is getting right now. This ain't one of them. And this is a critical one. This is an important one.
Oh, absolutely. Now, maybe we need to take a quick breather here, but I know some people have places to go. You might not be able to be in your vehicle for our last segment coming up here, which is why I implore you, please download the free NewsTalkSTL app from your favorite app store provider so you can bring us with you even when you're not in your vehicle or physically at home by your radio. I don't know how many people are still doing that, but if you've got a phone, you have a radio. So download the NewsTalkSTL app and bring us with you wherever you go.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
What was once considered radical is now mainstream.
On NewsTalk-STL.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today, or visit colecombs-law.com.
Colombo and Company.
Republicans negotiating with Democrats and themselves to find a deal to end the new government shutdown. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
On the Rumble chat box, PMS 3105, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Republicans are their own worst enemy. Any possible momentum they gain, they then step on their own tails over and over. I'm now thinking that it's on purpose. I don't know about on purpose. Don't ever, ever, ever underestimate incompetence and being dumb.
Absolutely. And I think the unfortunate reality of where we're at going into the primaries right now, ceteris paribus, as long as everything continues this way, is we're going to see possibly the biggest fumbling of the largest majority and the biggest push and momentum of a nation. And there's really no reason for it.
Yeah, and so what would happen then basically is if the Democrats win one or both chambers of Congress, I don't think they're going to get the Senate, but I really do think they could. I do think they can win the House. If that were to happen, basically what you've got is 2 years of gridlock.
Yeah.
And government not being able to do anything isn't always bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at gridlock and say, well, another term for that would be damage control. But the reality is that the whole leverage shifts. The party that says bipartisan the most is the one that's not in power.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the Democrats win and you have Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, which is very possible,
no. Little Elmo,
yeah. If that happens, then you've got an entirely different dynamic, and then it becomes the Republicans have to come to the table with the Democrats more than they do now. Whereas right now, the Democrats have the choice: come to the table to Republicans or just shut everything down, and they're shutting everything down. Which I guess we still have a partial government shutdown. I guess right now. I didn't even notice. Okay.
Yeah, you made it back to the United States.
We
no problem.
We have this. Yeah, I didn't have any problem getting back. From Puerto Rico. Which, by the way, we can get some updates on that too.
Yeah, well, I would love to hear more about your gloating about how amazing Puerto Rico is while we were all shivering in the cold here. But I do want to also point out, though, I mean, this is again, I'm very much anti-federal government for a reason. And if you look at the way that our state's Republicans are behaving, they're doing a lot of really good things.
Yes.
So it's not inherently a Republican thing per se. I think that at certain levels, though, people just they lose touch with reality. And we're seeing some amazing things being done in Missouri. So I think that, it's not a matter of not showing up for them locally. It's a matter of, are people going to really care that much about the federal government, or are we start focusing on our states and our communities?
That's the way to do it. And if many of the congressional Republicans, because we've got some really solid, good Republicans in Congress, of course, a few of them are from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
But if they acted in Congress more like the Republican majority in Missouri, Not that the majority in Missouri is perfect, but they're a lot better, and they're getting things done, and they're listening to the conservative grassroots.
Yes.
So if the congressional Republicans did more of that, we'd have some better results, and they would probably have better electoral outcomes as well.
Oh, for sure.
I would think so. All right, 8:52 right now. Yeah, I guess you guys were having some fun at my expense while I was gone, which, you know what, it's fine. You know why? Because I was on the beach in Puerto Rico.
There's really nothing we can say to
So-
hurt your feelings when you're on the beach in
That's
the middle
right.
of our winter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us more about your amazing trip. To
Yeah,
Puerto
no,
Rico.
it was, I went down obviously to play.
Rub it in a little bit
to
more.
play the baseball, rub it in. So Team Missouri, which, again, there were a couple guys from a couple other areas. We had one guy from Florida, and we had one guy from Las Vegas. But for the most part, it was a group from the Missouri Adult Men's Baseball Leagues. About 3/4 of that team was from St. Louis. So our uniform said Missouri, but it actually had a St. Louis flag on it.
Ooh.
We had an American flag on one sleeve and a St. Louis flag on the other. So it actually was mostly a St. Louis team, but it was Missouri because we had some representation from Kansas City as well. So it was just kind of an all-star team. We ended up going 2-2, so I think we represented Missouri very well. Unfortunately, there were some heavy rains that came through that canceled the last part of the tournament. So our goal was obviously to be one of the top 4 teams and make it to the playoffs. We did that. But we couldn't play the playoffs because it all got rained out. So I don't know how we would have done. I think we would have done well. But it was a great time. What a great experience as well. I got to tell you, I've gone to places. I'm like, well, that was fun to visit, but I've had my time there. I'll go visit somewhere else. I'd be happy to go back to Puerto Rico anytime. It was really good. The food was great. People were unbelievably friendly. I mean, they went out of their way to be friendly. And of course, I mean, it's a Spanish speaking area, but they have a lot of tourism. They were very patient with those of us who didn't speak English or didn't speak Spanish. And so they made sure there were ways for us. Like, for instance, a lot of the menus had, pictures.
Good.
And one of the first places I went to, I went, that. I just pointed that and that and that, But there was also, most people spoke some English, as well. But, I mean, Puerto Rico is an American territory. I mean, Puerto Ricans are Americans. We did not go. I didn't compete internationally. I just went to an American territory. So it was really a lot of fun. And Old Town San Juan is just gorgeous.
Did you need a passport to go there?
Nope.
Okay, so
Nope.
you can go to Puerto Rico
Yep.
without a passport.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's just like going to another state. Now the only difference, what was interesting, I did have something that when you're flying back into the mainland, it's a little bit different because before you can go to the airport security or before you go to the ticket counter and check your bags, there's a USDA, Department of Agriculture scanner all bags have to go through, and they're looking basically, are you trying to take any, I don't know whether it's foods or plants or whatever, but you have to have the sticker on your bag that says inspected by the USDA. Then you can go check your bags with the airline. I actually haven't unpacked my suitcase from yesterday when I got back, and it still has this big yellow sticker on it. So that was the only thing that was different. But no, it would be like flying to any other state. I mean, same rules apply. I mean, now you got to have that real ID or else they charge you a bunch of money. But other than that, it was just like flying to another state. It's no different.
Did you see any cool sights or anything like that?
Oh yeah, Old Town San Juan was amazing. But honestly, we wanted to go into kind of where like the real stuff was, and we were warned, hey, there's some areas that are just bad parts of town, just like we have here. But like we went into, we didn't look for the touristy restaurants. Now we did go to one in Old San Juan that was really cool, very, very delicious. By the way, they give you a lot of food. But we went to the places where the barbecue place, the Puerto Rican barbecue place by the airport, and then we went into another one that was, it was kind of like Mexican food, just the Puerto Rican flavor to it. But I mean, it's in the neighborhood where the bars are on the windows, which is, by the way, most of the residential areas that we saw. Bars on windows, bars over balconies. That was weird to kind of get used to seeing, because even in some areas that were clearly better off, you still had high fences and bars everywhere. But we never felt unsafe anywhere. I mean, there are areas that we were warned don't go, but people come to St. Louis, there are areas we warned them not to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great experience. I just really enjoyed it. Obviously, the weather was fantastic, but it was really a lot of fun. And most importantly, I think we represented Missouri really well.
Yeah, we're proud of you for that. And I know a lot of people, when they saw some of the photos that you posted on the on social media, they were like, "Hey, where do we get those hats from?" So if you have any of those,
you know what? We did have a lot of people mention that. So I actually mentioned that to a couple of the guys. Like, well, we could maybe order some more. They were really high quality hats too. So if you wanted a Team Missouri hat, then I can probably find. They can probably make another run of them. They cost me $30. It cost me $35 for the hat.
I'll pay that.
Yeah, which is pretty normal for a high quality hat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, they were pretty cool. So if you want that, I'm sure we can probably get them to make another run of them.
Well, welcome back to the freezing cold, Mike.
Yeah, I got off the plane and I'm like, it was 78 degrees this morning when I flew out of here. Why did I come back?
They